It's week 6 of play here in the EGFC. We pick things up with our number 1 team, undefeated DePaul University, taking on number 3 Marquette, and albeit they're third by the hair of their chinny chin chins. I'm Tyler Light, joined alongside me is Viking and Tyler coming into our 6th week. Any thoughts about last week? I know we didn't cover our games because both of us were out of town. What are your thoughts on what we missed and what we're now coming into?
I thought it was really unfortunate we didn't get a chance to broadcast them last week because there were some real close matches that definitely would have deserved the coverage. I know we've been through a lot of feast and famine over the last 5 weeks or 4 weeks before that, before the broadcast break. Last week, getting to see that match between some of these teams where like Marquette and UConn, our top two out of three teams, excuse me, tied in both maps and rounds, just made it an absolutely incredible game, just by the numbers. So we're coming into this. I mean, Marquette versus DePaul is something that we really built up to a lot last season, and this season, of course, there's been these two Big East teams sort of on a collision path with one another. So as we've seen the top tier of EGFC season 4 start to really differentiate, Marquette, DePaul, UConn on this rotation has been absolutely amazing. So Marquette, hopefully, based on what we see here today in the lobby, have got their A team with us, at least for the most part. And DePaul, of course, completely undefeated so far, is going to be quite a challenge. But this should be an excellent matchup. And then when we get to see UConn and Weber State a little bit later, I'm very curious to see how Claw Gaming ends up against the Huskies.
Well, into our first map, Vertigo will kick things off, followed by Mirage. Now, this is Marquette University's map selection. DePaul chose the CT side, understandably. And, well, Marquette have strats for this. They know what they're doing, and what they're doing is sending themselves straight over towards this A side. Clean double from Breezy to already open things up. Looking for a third, almost is given the opportunity, but will back away with their life, and with about 115 damage done. Clean start for DePaul, and oh my goodness, looks like it's going to be a fairly clean finish as well. Chris with a double of their own. Migs in a 1 versus 3. Throughout the nades to start the round, we'll have to throw out a whole lot more damage to close it out.
Yeah, an unfortunate start for Marquette. They did a bunch of lineups and great, but Breezy's lineup and to get that those two headshots coming out is amazing. But Migs picks up that USP, gonna find out sack, and so that's just gonna be Breezy, the kill leader on the DePaul side so far, up against the leader from the Marquette team. And this is just a real sneaky game. And I think Migs knows where to find him, but Breezy gets so much damage but isn't able to close it out. That's 2 HP between Migs and Death. Oh, that fake out works perfectly. Breezy's expecting the rotation onto B, but now he's having a second thought. He's going to creep back. But will Migs notice?
I don't think he will. He's on 2 HP as well. This should be communicated. He does not have armor. Breezy doesn't either, so 2 body shots will close him out. But it's a headshot instead. What is that? Did Migs just hit him in the body one time? I'm sorry. How in the world does Migs win that? How in the world do Marquette walk away victorious? A clean double to open it up from Breezy. A clean double seemingly to close it out, at least you'd expect from Chris with the dualies. And then Migs like, hold my non-alcoholic beverage, and, well, wins the round.
Wow, what a statement to open up this round. Marquette absolutely not ready to give up anything, and certainly not give up in the round, even when things seem dire. That's going to put them up 1-0, and what should be an incredibly difficult match for both teams here. Alter able to find Sack and clear out the site. Audine's getting aggressive, pushing into mid's going to find a second, but almost finds Chris. Chris able to just hide behind the vent there, take it out, and this is quite a dominant opening from Marquette with just 2 players left. Make that 1 on the DePaul side. This should be an easy close to round 2, unless Breezy with that deagle has anything to say about it. And no, Alter cleans it up with the Galil. Nice clean round from Marquette. Only 1 person down, and Audine's paying the price for being a little aggressive in the front there, but somebody's got to be the entry fragger. And a great opening 2 rounds from Marquette.
Yeah, and a quick note from Marquette. They're coming into this at 5-3 after losing just a single map to UConn last week and 2 maps to Villanova when they had, I believe, 2 subs in at the time. Now, looking at their current lineup, it's by no means their starting 5. Steve-O, Oxygen, and Aldean's all 3 in the lineup today. But a good start from Migs, and off the back of it, a clean conversion round puts them in a fairly good position. This is a full gun round for DePaul. On Marquette, it's a single AK and a single Galil with 3 MAC-10s to assist. Already finding an opener. Another opening pick goes their way, by the way. And DePaul now need to answer with well, not lesser weaponry, but no utility whatsoever other than a single flash on Sack and only one defuse kit to work around.
Yeah, that's the tough element of coming into that second round and not picking up a lot of kills. You're just going to be real light on utility, and against a team like Marquette, ready to execute in the way that we see them lining up in mid, it's going to be a real disadvantage. But Sack able to find the first one before he's immediately traded out by Alter. They're going to be overwhelmed in middle, so Smoosh is down, and that's 2 players left on DePaul to try to deal with it. But playing from the back side, Chris putting down tons and tons of damage, finds 2 players from Marquette, and that's going to find Migs taking out Breezy in the end, and then just a super clean third round. And this is going to put DePaul back in a tough position. They obviously opted for the upgraded rifles in lieu of the utility. They paid the price for that gamble, and so now they're going to be back to that real light economy, not a lot of money in the bank account. But you can see they're going to go for the pistols, try to build some damage, try to stop some of the momentum from Marquette. I think even in this case, you know, obviously they're always going to hope for the win. You can see the stack moving towards B, make that an aggressive push. They're going to try to catch Marquette off guard. But Nadin's ready to go, takes out Breezy, and now with that molly down, it's going to stop some of that aggression. So DePaul just going to slow down a little bit here, but still trying to push and find those kills. Unfortunately, they're going to run into the brittle of Migs, and that 1-for-1 trade is going to make this a little bit scarier for Marquette.
Yeah, but Migs is avenged, and this should still be a clean finish. By the way, Chris is just at sandbags, yet to be cleared out. Quick note, by the way, if anybody didn't see that one, and then misses their entire clip. 5-7 will whiff, as will Sack. Clean double to close out the round from Alter. DePaul, I don't think would have won that round. Chris probably could have done a little bit more damage, maybe taken a rifle away, but it would not have been round changing by any means. They wouldn't have been able to pick up the rifle, and most certainly not been able to close out another kill onto Alter. Nonetheless, it's Marquette keeping 4 players alive, and their economy is continuing to just dominate DePaul. While, yeah, DePaul has the first off of the game, they've also invested everything to get behind it, and, well, they didn't have a whole lot to start with.
Yeah, the momentum on Marquette here is cannot be overstated, right? If they are able to close this out in any convincing fashion without DePaul being able to carry over 2 or 3 rifles, they're just going to be stuck in this kind of endless cycle. They've got to break that somehow, but so far, just not being able to connect individually. We saw some missed shots on the DePaul team, very uncharacteristic of those players. Just not able to really put down the damage and get the return on investment for the economy. That being said, Sack playing in an off angle in mid is going to find Migs, the team leader from Marquette, while the rest of the team just lining up at a ramp. So we're going to see how they decide to aggress here. Alter finding the opening kill on Breezy is going to trigger the Marquette aggression. They're going to push up for that once again, not looking towards sandbags. So assuming that they're, they found their man and they're going for it. Split on the side, it's going to give them a little bit of an advantage on the angle side, and DePaul already on the rotate. All 4 players immediately there and ready to re-aggress once those smokes clear.
Nade over top does a decent bit of damage, but Oxygen is just dropping Smoosh, gives another man advantage to Marquette. Retake is here, but an op on a retake certainly disadvantageous. 2 kits are available, and now picking up the kill into Oxygen puts them in a fairly good position. That Molotov bouncing just a bit too far forward with the smoke still there will dissipate it immediately. 1 kill found around towards short. Aldine's taken away, but it's Alter and Stevo. Alter from the ramp and Stevo from that catwalk position to close out the round. Marquette, I don't know if they want that op. Stevo was about to retrieve their AK, but they'll have to hold on to it, and Alter will try to stick with it. Another round win for Marquette. This one a little less clean, but a round win nonetheless.
Yeah, I think it's an improved effort from DePaul, at least in the results. They were there. I think the issue is, they had a lot of players from the same angle on that retake, and, it's a pretty simple angle calculation from there, whether trying to hit some grenades or whatever, and they were able to clean up a lot. The highlight of that, at least on the DePaul side, is the refrags were there. I think what we just saw, with the loss of Alter on the Marquette front, is there hasn't been a lot of refrag opportunities, or at least not a lot of pairings where either a smoke or just bad positioning are keeping people apart from one another. So Marquette is able to overwhelm the individual defenses of DePaul. That paired with obviously the lack of utility has been a real struggle for them. So DePaul's coming in this. I mean, they've got a scout and an MP9, which the MP9 can do some serious up close damage, which is obviously what Chris is hoping to get over there on the B or on the A side, excuse me. So, we see this Marquette execution coming in onto the B site. We're going to see if that scout can do anything, and it does. It finds Stevo, and that opening kill, it's going to take a little bit more damage goes down, unfortunately, with Def there, actually able to get that refrag. So the two players on the DePaul side doing some serious damage as the help comes in from the rest of it, and Def cleans it up. That is an excellent and super clean first round for DePaul.
Exactly what DePaul was looking for. A round back in. That builds up momentum. Not only that, but keeping 4 players alive while only losing a scout is allowing you to build up a little bit of an economy. Yes, Smoosh has to reinvest into a scout, but at the same time, they were fairly good with it in the previous round. Finding a kill and a little bit of damage, not the end of the world for them. And Marquette need to be able to find an answer. Alter will re-buy up an op this time around, rather than just sticking with a picked up op. I don't know why they dropped the bomb. It just reappears on the bridge. Okay, I suppose. But Chris is down to 14 HP, so decent opener for Marquette.
Just a little bit of levity there. Just, like playing with portals.
I suppose. Portal 2?
Remember the days
Another Valve
when
game?
you could just drop it off the bottom, or drop it off the side of the map, there's nothing you could do about it? Good times.
I don't think I played CSGO at that point.
Well, I'm not old. You are. This is going heavily in the direction of Marquette. I mean, Steve-O finding Breezy's head over the smoke there is just going to make it even harder. Chris and Sack down to 26 combined HP is not going to bode well for them. But, they've got rifles. They've got the opportunity to do something. Make that Sack has the opportunity to do something with that 12 HP and a dream. 4 players starting to flood onto the B site over there. That's going to be, or the A site. I don't know why I keep messing those up today. Def finding a little bit of something there. This could be the savior again. He did excellent in that first round that they won, and now it's just a matter if he can find that.
1 HP though, basically, against an AK especially. Another nade over top somehow doesn't kill either player, who avoids both. Oxygen, even with that movement and accuracy, is able to find a kill. Aldine's down to 20 HP off the back of a dink from Def, but Def is still on 10. Swings for a follow-up and is looking to retrieve a rifle now. One-shot headshot certainly possible, but it's one-shot body shot on the other side, and Oxygen finds the body they were looking for. Marquette make it a 6th. DePaul, yeah, they win a single round. They then lose the follow, and now, well, not broke, but certainly not easy buy it for them by any means.
That's going to be kind of a tough choice for some of those players as to what they want to accomplish. But for the majority of the team, at least, they're able to buy into at least a healthy amount of utility. They're going to be able to slow this down, and a perfect time to get that is Marquette just pushes through mid. Then Molly able to slow them down just a little bit. And I don't know if they got the information that as many people are actually were there, but they're going to start to share some of that information as the smokes go down. They're going to cross over and start pushing through this mid area. DePaul not ready for it, and we're going to lose Smoosh off the B site already, leaving just 1 player there to defend. Ladine's going to look for that rotation, is going to find the first one, maybe a second, finds two more to go, goes down to Def, and that's going to be 3 players left to make that 2 for DePaul to try to come in and contend with this post-plant situation on the B site.
It's 1 through mid, 1 through CT. Both positions currently mollied off. Def smoking off the second molly thrown down will at least give themselves an opportunity back into this, and actually does find an opener. Alter, however, with a trade and a doubled up one at that, Marquette find a 7th, and DePaul are sent packing on another retake here on Vertigo.
It seems like a really uncharacteristic situation for DePaul to be in. I don't know if maybe they just kind of got off on the wrong foot, not really knowing what to expect, and it's been kind of hard to recover from that. Obviously, their economy hasn't really been contributing to a positive element of it, but you can see they're trying for the aggression here again, which netted them a couple kills the last time. Zach able to find Migs through that is going to be great. This is Breezy. But Marquette, the same way that they dealt with the first one, just choosing to kind of hunker down and wait for the aggression as the ball goes to find these rifles. And without much on their side, I mean, it's going surprisingly well for DePaul. That aggression is going to net them a whole 3 kills so far. Marquette, as that bomb goes down, to now Sack on 2 HP, and an MP9 still on Smoosh, hasn't been able to recover an AK. Is going to kind of dictate what happens. But Marquette moving into these defensive positions, it's really going to be a matter of who peeks around which corners and at what distance, because that MP9 obviously falls off quite dramatically as you get a little bit farther away. Is he going to look in the right direction? No. Steve-O able to find that out. Alter, quick swing around from the backside of sight. It's going to be a quick end to that round. I mean, great efforts from DePaul there. It's aggression, certainly did better than the first time and put them in a position where they absolutely could have won that round.
And that's a round in which you look at and say, DePaul should not have even been that close. So that's about as close to a round win without actually winning the round as you can get. 2 players stay alive from Marquette, sure, so a little bit of an economy will be left over, but not the end of the world by any means. Flashbang set up to fake some aggression around the B side, but not really round-changing by any means. Follow-up nade from Def down a ramp, again, not round-changing. And you're looking at the aggression from DePaul and saying, well, it's looked better with pistols, and that's because Marquette hasn't really been expecting it, nor had an easy way to deal with the unbridled aggression. What has to change for DePaul during the gun rounds? Seemingly just playing standard gun rounds, but they have weapons in pocket and losing standard gunfights in that same right.
I think part of it is just been Marquette has been hitting every shot that they come through. Their execution's obviously doing really well on their own map pick. And again, we just kind of ran into some of those situations where the refrag wasn't immediately there, but the individual efforts from DePaul have been pretty strong from time to time. There are a couple players, still lagging a little bit behind on there, but Def being an individual force, I can't believe Oxygen didn't get that bomb down. Just a little bit of anxiety, I guess, is going to keep that from happening. And Def, who's been kind of that anchor for DePaul so far as the rest of the team's kind of struggling to get into their groove, is going to clean that up. And that's what DePaul needed, right? Some individuals to step up to do an excellent job there to make sure they can take advantage of some of those refrags and to just create a little bit of that disconnect in Marquette from whatever flow state they were in. For example, they're just preventing the bomb from going down, and that's actually going to be a huge potential impact as we play through the last 5 rounds of this half.
Push comes to shove, it really comes down to sometimes individual skill, but overall team cohesion. DePaul and these retakes have looked fairly good, but Marquette, as they were pushed on towards the site, were really just taken away. And into this round, they're again trying to aggress up a ramp with smokes on the other side. Sack does, well, 100 damage to Stevo, who did absolutely nothing in the round, just random sprays through work. You have to have a response to the Marquette side. There it is. Migs dropping Chris. That's a way back into this. A 4v4 and a scout on Smoosh. They may be able to retrieve the rifle that was on top of the Raptors' position. But it's still down to, well, why are you pushing, or at least attempting to push straight through smokes when your tracers can be seen and theirs can't because suppressors exist?
Nah. I like how this is going so far. I mean, you can see that everybody's kind of rethinking after, just dropping one person from each squad at that point. And Marquette opting to go back towards this A site. They're going to split up DePaul a little bit. There are still 2 players on this A site, but there's still a number of them playing safe. Continuing over onto that B side. We're going to see this aggression come in. Sack peeking around the corner at just the right time. He's going to find Audience putting down that molly to try to prevent the aggression from happening while the rest of Marquette start to push up that ramp. And Migs, with that opening kill, is going to find Breezy, one of those heavy hitters from the DePaul side, as Marquette continues on to the broadcast. That playing around the smoke. Def goes on, completely goes off, finds 2 headshots and leaves just Alter. Wow, what an effort from DePaul, specifically Def, on that effort there.
Oh, Smoosh. Nice little flick onto Alter. The first attempt was just because I think they saw a body. The second one was because they saw a person, which then became a body. It's still 3 rounds for DePaul's defense, which is not the worst thing in the world. They could still bring this back. Of course, 4 rounds remain. An 8-7 split by no means is a bad scoreline on the CT side. But it's still down to, does Marquette try and capitalize off of their early round victories? Because the T side really profits off of chaos, which can be the pistol round, conversion round, bonus, what have you. The main reason they picked up all 5 of the first 5 rounds. That nade, by the way, did that hit not at all, or was Alter already that low?
It hit us.
Okay.
Yeah, the counter aggression from Marquette not really doing a lot for them as they're pushing through this. Unfortunately, not having any utility and just kind of nominal power on the pistol front is not any match for one Def or from that op on Chris. So continuing their momentum from the last round, this looks like it'll be a 4th round on their part, but Oxygen able to equalize it a little bit, and this is just going to be kind of those continued dry peak face-offs until the end of the round. Breezy picking up a huge 4K on the eco round is going to help hopefully boost morale. I mean, a lot of these players on the DePaul side usually really strong. I mentioned earlier just having a little bit of trouble getting going, so any of those confidence boosters is going to be huge as they're trying to take these last couple of rounds.
It's just a quick warm-up for them. The first, I don't know, 6 or 7 rounds were just, oh yeah, we need to train our aim. That's why they were bringing in so many diverse sets of weaponry. They had pistols, SMGs, they brought in rifles fairly early just to get them going. Clean kill from Audine's onto their teammate, but an even cleaner double from Breezy. Now a triple to put Migs in a 1v4. That team kill looking like it's coming back to bite Marquette, as Migs, the IGL team captain, and well, he who possesses the final life of Marquette in this round, is left alone. Not only is he in mid, far separated from the rest of the opposing team, he's already down to 47 HP, only has a Molotov, and the bomb is down on ramp, of which is currently fully occupied by all three DePaul members, with Breezy down below, Chris on short, and Sack locking down the site itself. I'm gonna say save the AK here, Migs. Probably not the best idea to push this.
Yeah. Although definitely, just looking at the cash, if we can take some of those rifles off the board, that'll at least help kind of equalize for the last 2 rounds, excuse me, of the game after this round is over. But that was a tough opening for Marquette, kind of uncharacteristic from what we've seen, through the first 12 rounds, really. Even on the ecos, a little bit cleaner than that. But DePaul, I feel like, just finally found whatever groove they needed to click into in order to be successful, and did a great job of shutting down that aggression. So Marquette, going into this next round, I don't know if that was more of just like a blip and a good rotation from DePaul, but it might be something that Marquette, who has so far been favoring that A site, starts to think a little bit more of maybe some of those B splits, or they've had a lot of success with that aggression in mid when they've done that way. So I'd love to see a little bit more variety. We see a lot of A ramp aggression, across most competitive Counter-Strike here, but sometimes it's good to shake things up a little bit.
I'm one that employs the old saying of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And for Marquette, their original aggression was fairly good. Look for an opening pick and then push as a team off of your opening duel. But thus far, we've seen multiple team kills, and it's just been chaos that really hasn't been converted off of by Marquette. DePaul, on the other side, however, has really changed up their whole game. It's gone from one round, oh, we'll sit back, wait for you to walk in, and we'll just kill you off the back of it, to the following, where they just hold W with full rifles. This, seemingly one of those hold W rounds, albeit they're up against pistols, so a little bit easier to pick up. Nonetheless, it's still Marquette seemingly not able to walk away with a single kill. Yeah, they've done, in total, about 120 damage, but it's not round-changing by any means, and they have a total of about 130 HP left over, or 110, because I can't do math.
It's okay, that's not what we're here for. Great. Just generally seeing the aggression from DePaul, knowing that, Marquette's in kind of a precarious financial position, is a great way to play this. Just try to clean it up. Don't give away anything silly. Don't give those one-on-ones where the Deagle can really do an incredible amount of damage. Smoosh gonna celebrate by taking out Breezy there. Not a huge deal because they have so much cash and a lot of momentum coming into this. So what was entirely the Marquette show in the beginning half of this, for opening half of this game, now switch back to DePaul, who's now on their 4th round in a row and doing an excellent job.
Yeah, and notably, this is the last round of the half, so Breezy's death doesn't really mean all that much because of how much money they had. Smoosh does find an opener before falling. Really good pickup. Chris, op out, and op drops Alter, looking for another, cannot find it. Smoke dropped in front. Following up Molotov to make sure they cannot stick on that generator position. Still looking for a kill, and actually takes 70 damage off the back of it. Molotov to make sure that this bomb plant will not go down without even more damage taken, and because of it, Breezy finds a double. Audine's taken away because the M4, and the follow-up kill with a Molotov on the Migs leaves Steve-O in a 1 versus 4. The first kill found, yes, but a smoke drop directly on top of the bomb, and Def just swinging because they can. DePaul University, they were down 5 rounds, just 5 rounds ago. Now it's down to 1, and they brought it to as close as it possibly can be at the end of the first half.
Great reversal by DePaul. They're still down by 1 round, so great job to Marquette for getting that score up as far as they did on the T side. So now as they switch, Marquette has got to find a way to shut down that DePaul momentum, because obviously on the T side, you have the opportunity to dictate exactly how fast things are moving throughout the game. So Marquette's got to do a great job of shutting this down early, try to regain some of that momentum, and make sure that DePaul does not get on that train. They have been so well known for it so far. There's a reason that they're 10-0 throughout the season so far.
Oxygen Pistol out. Needs to find an opener here for this Marquette defense. Sides have switched. It will switch back in about 2 seconds, but it's already a double now on both sides, as it's 3 versus 3, but the CT side already encircling the site and wanting to get aggressive. Bomb is planted default, but Alter removes Smoosh's head from the rest of their body and already gives Marquette this man advantage as they aggress onto the site itself. Migs has a kit, Audine's with armor to work off of. Dooley's on the other side, however, do not care about your armors. The headshot is indeed found. Audine's looking for anything they can find, finds 1 kill, needs to retrieve the kit and then look to push towards Chris, of whom still has the Doolies in their back pocket and is repositioned all the way towards the back side of this ramp position. A tap onto the bomb, a second attempt to try and bait them out, but the Doolies will come out on top. The best weapon in the game will find a triple in the pistol, and DePaul will win it.
Marquette did a great job getting onto the site, getting everything done there, and just, you know, trying to put themselves in a position. Or sorry, DePaul did a great job getting onto site. Marquette did a great job with their initial defenses there, and even getting down to the end with that 1v1. Could have gone either way. I mean, that's one of those places where, you know, if you pull a pros don't fake moment, he, I think, could have walked away from that just based on the position that Breezy was in. But DePaul wasting no time, immediately re-aggressing. Marquette, who'd been on the other side, is going to try to make that re-aggression and that retake now as everybody starts to scramble over. But those nades that have been wisely saved to the end, now available to chip away at that damage, doing a little bit there. But these MP9s coming out from Marquette could be a huge difference maker here.
Especially close range. Unfortunately, not close range enough. The only MP9 that's left over is on Audine's, and they haven't even started to aggress. The smoke is still between them and the site itself. Sack long range will take Alter away. Migs does find a follow-up, so the Deagle will reign true for 2, but that's all it will find. It's Sack with a 4K. A 4 in their name, and a 4K in the round, with DePaul taking the lead off the back of it.
I believe that's 7 in a row now for DePaul, who did not miss a beat coming from their impressive route at the end of their CT side. Coming through, you know, this is already flipping the switch, so now taking the advantage for the first time in this game so far. They're looking real good right now. If this continues and Marquette doesn't find an answer, this is going to be a very quick, short half.
I don't think Marquette want to make it as short as you are indicating. Nice nade, does a decent bit of damage. Follow-up chip will cut away Stevo, and that's a clean round. DePaul blink and you miss it. They walk away with a round victory. They save over 3 AKs and a Galil. Def, the only one to fall, also has $7,000, so I don't think he particularly cares about it. 2-round lead, the longest and biggest lead that DePaul has held. I believe also the only lead as a technicality. But Marquette now has a response built up. M4 on Stevo, A1S on Migs, Oxygen, and Audine's, with the first op of the second half brought out by the CT side, just as it was in the first. It's whether Marquette can use it just a bit better than DePaul. That's where our allegiances lie.
Well, it's good to see things kind of slowing down as DePaul goes back for that default sort of setup. You see them kind of poking and prodding, looking for any of that early information that Marquette, so far, I mean, playing more conservatively, not really trying to give that up. I feel like there might be a little bit of gun shy at taking some of those 1v1s. You can see the fast rotate comes in already as you see some of that utility come down. A great flash is going to enable that first kill from Migs. Finds the second one, and while the bomb is down, that's those 2 first huge kills as Marquette looks to make that retake.
4 versus 3, 2 players below half HP on DePaul. Smoke forward to try and get on top of the bomb, but it goes a little bit too far wide. Audine's will find one as Marquette's reinitiating, and a second found here for Alter. Breezy makes too much noise as they aggress through the smoke, and being gray screened as you're taking a fight, never a recipe for success. Marquette will buy up for the first time in the second half, and win for the first time in the second half. Fairly cleanly so at that. 4 rifles kept over, including their op, and DePaul now fighting to keep their lead, rather than to just push it forward.
It's a good message that the A site is closed for business as Marquette takes over ownership of the store. And yet, DePaul going immediately back to that well now with a little bit different loadout, as they say the op there, but they're just continuing to push through that. Don't care about the smokes, don't care about the flashes, just running in, doing whatever they can. I think they realized that Marquette was actually playing off-site for the most part, opting for the retake. Being able to take advantage of that, here is Stevo pulling one from that heaven position, doing an excellent job. And DePaul just has complete control of this right now.
Audine's looking to aggress forward, but it's again Marquette needing to retake. This time, instead of a man advantage, it's a disadvantage. Molotov on top of Stevo with a nade to precede it means they're immediately taken off the board. No easy way in, and Chris will make sure that the long line of sight is indeed locked down. The A site's closed for business, but that's in terms of a retake now for Marquette, as DePaul retake it and claim real estate in their own right, now extending their lead right back up to 2 rounds.
What a statement from DePaul. We got shut down on that, so we're actually going to go back immediately and show you that that was just a fluke. And boy, they did that in such a decisive fashion. That's just once they put that plow down, you know, and the bulldozer starts the engines up, they're just continuing to rush through that. I mean, they're 1 out of the last 9 rounds at this point, and doing an excellent job of maintaining that momentum. And even though they lost that second to last round, doing an excellent job of answering for that. Even as Audien comes out and finds 2 with a 5-7, that he's shutting down mid so far. And can he find a third? That'd be huge, but he isn't able to. Smoosh gets him through the wall. They're going to push through mid. That's going to be 3 aggressing onto that B site. And Marquette with just 2 players make that 1 player. Wow, hello. Chris. What a great cross shot as Stevo tries to emerge from the smoke. It's going to be a quick end of the round. They did make that a little bit more expensive, but ultimately, you know, with $8,000 on sack there and plenty of money across the rest of the board, not really opting for economic damage at this point. It's really got to be, they have to come in and have like a complete shutdown in order to really put a statement, cancel some of that momentum, and make sure that they're in a good position to take the rest of these rounds. Because as DePaul gets up to 12 rounds, this is just, you know, those margins of error become increasingly thin, and Marquette really can't afford to make any mistakes here.
And DePaul understanding there's 2 different ways of measuring how success can work, with round victories in terms of points there, or style points. Not only do they find style points in terms of Chris finding a double with a P250 in the previous round, but a little bit of damage followed up upon just with an HE. Sometimes all you need. A 4v4, however, as Oxygen does bring at least 1 back. CT is occupied, however, smoked off in that same right. Nade thrown off the map because they ran into their teammates as they threw it in terms of Chris. But there's Oxygen. Another kill, and a double one at that. Def avoids the flash and does find the kill, but is down to 9 HP off the back of it. Oxygen is not slowing down, though. The B site apparently is also closed for business. Can DePaul retake that now in our following round? Because Oxygen just casually found a quad kill on it.
Huge individual effort by Oxygen, one of the newer players to the Marquette squad, really making their presence known here. What I've been a little bit concerned over the last couple of rounds, especially for Marquette, because as you can realize, like, they're leaving their players kind of isolated, or they're just getting a little over aggressive in mid and giving some of those openings that seems kind of uncharacteristic in their play style. So that's provided, I think, really the opportunity for some of that momentum to be what it is. But Sack, knowing the exact lineup, is going to be able to take Migs off the board. Def is going to go down, so it's going to be an equalizer as one of those players disconnects. Audien's holding it down from that back side position, find that double kill. That's huge for Marquette. This is going to be a huge momentum shift for them as they have the bomb down near ramp. Stevo finding Chris off that and Alter cleaning it up. That's a super clean round from DePaul, or from, well, DePaul in terms of how quickly they got cleaned off the map, but Marquette doing an excellent job to try to take advantage of their previous round success and really just close that gap. So 12 to 11, much better position for Marquette. They've got to keep that up. Def is rejoining the field, so we're looking pretty good here. I'm excited to see how these last couple of rounds fare out based on how back and forth everything has been now.
DePaul now trying to answer with aggression on towards this B side. Molotov down means 60 damage is done onto Def. A follow-up nade will do almost 100 onto Smoosh, if not a second nade to follow. Oxygen finds 6 kills in 2 rounds, but is finally taken off the board. And now it's a 3v3. M4 and AK available here for DePaul, alongside the back of it with a bomb plant. Marquette will have to slow it down with utility left over and an op still on the board to try and aggress. A flashbang set around the far side, but that does not catch out the close-lying player. You can just see Breezy sitting in this close corner. Migs wants to try a no-scope just straight through the smoke, is seemingly aware of somebody there, sees them, and then swings upon them. Breezy is dropped. Now only 20 seconds on that bomb timer. Chris playing towards the scaffolding and Sack around towards the main stairs. A swing from scaffolding, Chris finds one, but a smoke's on top of the bomb. They need to find a spray through, and they may just not be given the opportunity. Stevo with a double, Marquette with a tied up scoreline. We're dead even once more.
Love that teamwork from Marquette there on the retake. That's exactly what I was talking about they needed to fix in that previous round. You saw Migs and team just covering every angle, making sure that they were diverting from attention to the bomb diffuser at the end there. just a super clinical round. A little bit of nerves there on watching the initial aggression and the success from DePaul, at least taking set initially. But Marquette's retakes looking significantly more clean there. See them playing a little bit more conservatively across the board, maybe a little timid from some of those first half results. But like you said, even now at 12-12, Marquette now seemingly taking back momentum, and this could be the way that they close this out. That being said, there's still plenty of rounds and a lot of money to be spent potentially on these last 3 rounds for either teams, 4 rounds for either teams.
No, I'm going to say it right now. I think OT is certainly a possibility at this point. Considering
Truly seems that way.
DePaul really seemed to even it out with Marquette in the later stages of the first half. When the CT side becomes a little bit less sporadic, then it becomes more consistent and
that's the bomb.
Overall better. Smoosh also has just dropped the bomb, which doesn't particularly help their case. Swing from Chris drops Aldine, similar to that of what Miggs was doing in our previous half. Another return, however. It's Marquette keeping that man advantage. Def has just cleared onto the site, however, and has now finally been seen, but finds a kill before they're taken away. DePaul are still in this. Chris has made a decent bit of noise, and has Sack for assistance flash around the corner to try and retrieve the bomb, but they need to get on it sooner rather than later, and Sack takes out their teammate. Bomb has been retrieved, sure. There's a way to push forward, but they've only found one, not aware of the very quick rotation from Oxygen, knowing the bomb was down and wanting to play around it, will take the round off the back of the objective, and Marquette retake the lead.
That was a huge misstep from DePaul there, just throwing the bomb into short and just making it so difficult to retrieve. I don't know if they were expecting to just be able to move a lot faster on that split, but you obviously never want the bomb to go first wherever you can avoid it. Unfortunately, that's going to spell that down, and that nade does find quite a bit of damage as the aggression from DePaul through mid is going to be there. Lots of Tech 9s and pistols across the board, just trying to rush in and take it over. That Molly is going to stop them from progressing too far, and Miggs able to find some through the smoke. Is going to just continue to take away from that. It's going to allow positioning from the Marquette side to answer for it at least. So the overwhelming force that they were looking for canceled out a little bit, but Chris able to find one, almost two. Def now alive. We know how dangerous he's been, but Steve-O holding the angle, going to close that out. That was almost incredibly scary for Marquette, but I love the way that they handled that with the Molly, with the smoke. I mean, they just did a great job of kind of diverting from that aggression and then shutting it down.
Playing around utility for, at this point, the defensive side. They try to do it just about as much on the T side, but it's difficult to really convert off of that utility usage if you don't have as much nor as much space to already work with. If you're on the CT side, the real estate's already afforded to you. You don't have to take it, you just have to hold on to it. A little bit easier, hence the reason that most money has to be spent on the CT side compared to the T side. You know, M4s costing more, incendiaries, diffuse kits existing, etc. Nonetheless, still finding an opener. Who the heck cares about money spent when you can still find kills? That's at least Alter's outlook on life.
Yeah, that was a great opening kill. Just a little cheeky peek around the corner. And Audine's finding Breezy through that corner box. Wow, this is just all Marquette right now. I can't believe that. There's just the power of being able to switch up their positioning just a little bit, playing each site just a little bit differently each time from a new position. That was super clean. And now Marquette's on game point. This is... you know, at the end of the half, especially going into the first early rounds of this half, I thought DePaul was just going to run away with it. But Marquette successfully, at least so far, has shut down that momentum and, you know, finding themselves on match point. No small feat based on, you know, just the scary momentum that DePaul had.
You know, I'm trying to find a caveat here. For DePaul, yeah, it's not their map selection, which isn't the end of the world, but Marquette has still looked good on Mirage thus far this season, albeit the only team they've played on it has been Bowling Green State. They gave up all of 2 rounds, and Bowling Green State has yet to win a map. But it's still Marquette playing around aggression and success. Allowing Mirage through signifies they're at least comfortable on it, considering how often DePaul selects it. Opener goes their way, and then is immediately taken back. Def, however, with a double, wasting absolutely no time finding kills, but they now have to be wary of a flank. Slowly aggressing. Miggs, still not aware of that flank, finally is. They don't clear the close corner, but Def shoots too early. Apparently, Alter didn't realize it. The bomb is still planted over on this B side. Def is somehow still alive and hasn't been cleared from the backside of Generator. Luckily for Migs is run out of ammo. This should be the aggression. This should be the kill. Almost certainly the map to follow. It will be indeed. Migs drops Def, and Marquette are the first team to take a map off DePaul University.
Wow, that was an incredible series, and of course it's closed out by none other than Migs opening that first pistol round with a huge clutch, closes it out with a bookend of the same direction. And that, wow, the momentum shifts that we saw there, the way that both teams were playing some incredibly great Counter-Strike in some rounds, just really comes down to some of those really, really minor mistakes, some of those individual gun battles going one direction or the other. And I think, as we got into round 20, we still had no idea which direction it was going to go, which is an indication of an incredible match. So a huge congratulations to both teams on that performance. And I'm excited because that was only the first map.
Yeah, and Mirage is soon to follow. A little bit more of a standardized map, the Great Equalizer, similar to that of the conversation around Inferno. So Marquette are by no means on the back foot. It may not be their map selection, but they've played it time in and time again, especially up against DePaul in our previous season. The team that was once undefeated is now no longer. They'll look to keep it at least 11-1 rather than 10-2 at the end of week 6 when we come back from the break. Map 1 goes the way of Marquette. They choose Vertigo and win it. 16-12 the scoreline there. DePaul have lost a map in EGFC Season 4 CSGO. We'll see if it becomes 2 at the end of their selection of Mirage. I'm Time to Light, joined alongside me still is Viking and Tyler into Mirage. DePaul's map selection, but it's Mirage. Even I know Mirage smokes.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to create any distinct advantage for either of these teams, but we've obviously seen DePaul win these quite decisively in the past. I mean, they struggled a little bit in week 4 against UConn, also a 16-12 score line where UConn made it really competitive as we saw them kind of surge back from some of their earlier hesitancy as they were kind of getting their teams together. So I don't know if this is necessarily a place where you can give an edge to one team other than the fact Marquette obviously coming off of that huge win, like you said, taking the first map of DePaul all season looks pretty great. But DePaul spreading out a little bit here, just trying to look for any of that information and kind of get set up for some of that misdirection. It does look like they're ultimately going to be going towards that A site. But Marquette, playing it chill, just looking for whatever information they can. It's really going to be up to Alter in that window position to suss out what's going on. It seems like there's a little bit of indication. Ace goes down there, able to find Def and take that first one out. And now they're kind of expecting something to happen, but that's just going to blow stuff up. Smoosh finds that first one. Killers are going back and forth all over the place, and the flanks coming in. That's going to net them the bomb site for DePaul, and Marquette is going to have to work on this retake in just a second.
Biggs has a kit, does not have armor most importantly. Luckily, Audine's does, and is retaking from a long angle with a USB in hand. Has seen the rotation around, but just is not hitting the shot required. Miggs is now being aggressed upon, and that's the kit away. They're well aware of that, by the way. You can see the kit on the floor, and the USB has also been retrieved. Audine's now has about 15 seconds to hop on that bomb before the round comes to an end. The swing from Smoosh trying to find the kill, at least bait Audine's into a long angle, but there's really no way to pick this up at this point, I say, as soon as Audine's finds a kill, looking for Chris, of whom is not even giving them the time of day, and Chris has made it far enough away to where Audine's cannot win it, and will not. It's DePaul to win the T-sided pistol. That's the opener they needed, especially after Vertigo. And also, quick note, by the way, for all of you who are just joining us and are like, hey, who the heck is Ace? They are subbing in on the Marquette side for Oxygen, who, for all of you curious in the previous map, found 17 kills and 18 deaths.
All right. Wow, Sack's running out there, finds Alter before the smoke goes down. That's just going to be a quick opening, and this is the exact aggression from DePaul that's going to continue to net them scores. They're going to just not be subject to any of those kind of cheeky angles or hidden positions. Steve-O trying their best to just do whatever damage they can from that Palace position. And while Audience comes in and finds one, it's not going to be enough. And now just Steve-O trapped in Palace trying to find some sort of ability, new angle, refresh rate, whatever they can possibly do to just try to probably not win this back, but at least do some additional damage to slow down the momentum of DePaul. These rounds have been kind of messy so far. I mean, we talked about clean rounds in the past, but it seems like the initial efforts from DePaul a little bit disrupted by Marquette's individualized efforts to just try to get something going on, and you end up with teams kind of all over the place and who knows where, which little tough to follow sometimes. But ultimately, I think they're doing pretty great.
They seem a little bit cleaner, but it's down to Marquette because of the fact that they bought a little bit in the previous round. It's basically just a full save. There's a 5-7 on Audine's. Everybody else has default pistols and nothing more. Marquette understand that they need to have everything in their favor going into this following, and they want to do economic damage to DePaul, but at the same time, they don't want to overinvest in order to do so, because economic damage to your opponents, of whom have already won a few clean rounds, is not as impactful when you do economic damage to yourself. Looking at DePaul, by the way, bomb planted, 5 players alive, and just pistols on the other side. I do not see Marquette winning this round. At the very best, maybe finding 2 kills. Maybe.
All right, we'll put the bar at 2 kills and see how they do. I mean, we are going to have a lot of bodies being thrown at this retake attempt pretty shortly, but a good flash is going to give that double kill over to Sack. It's going to leave just one kind of trapped, but everybody's there to find and help out their buddies, and Marquette goes the entire round without a kill. They do some damage, not enough to really make a huge difference, and a huge testament to just how DePaul has been playing that buddy system and doing really well in it. That's going to leave Marquette coming into this next round, the 4th round of the series, with a bye and some decent utility. Ultimately going for the op over any of that utility. Is going to try to take some of that mid, but there are no players in mid for them to control against. All right. Opening immediate trade is going to drop a bottom. Sack already all the way back past triple. That's a quick flank from the middle of sight right there. And again, DePaul just taking a commanding control over everything. But Alter with that op does an excellent job. And it is incredibly dangerous. You know, it's like the equivalent of Chris over on the DePaul side and just doing an excellent job of trying to keep Marquette in their first real buy round.
Molotov towards Firebox, but Chris expects it and is able to get that smoke down quickly. Another nade to follow up. It's a double, actually, as Aldeans finds the final blow. Migs from the top side of stairs will find the refrag, and with more than enough time remaining, considering they've bought a kit, it's Marquette to win their first. They understand they didn't have to do all that much economic damage. As long as they have an economy to work off of, they have a buy to play around. Migs finds the final kill, the defuse, and the op saved over the issue. It's about $3,500 to $4,500 a player on Marquette. They still have to buy, while DePaul is just freely chilling with a full purchase.
The way DePaul has been playing, that could minimize the effectiveness of the op, assuming Alter, Chris on the DePaul side with the op, is going to continue to play from that window position. This being said, DePaul is opting to spread out, and you can see them aggressively pushing through mid, not waiting for anything. And that just a brief peek from Migs onto Cat is going to cost him his life, but it is going to give them a little bit more information. So DePaul going just through this mid control exercise is getting themselves into window, finding kill after kill. That's the op down and the single most impactful game so far. And Steve-O trapped under scaffolding there. This is just an absolutely clinical round from DePaul. Super aggressive, push into every position. Don't give up anything. Don't allow your teammates to run around unaccompanied by an adult. And now it's just Audien's trying desperately to save, but he's going to run into Chris, who just peeks but misses him. So that might actually give him the ability to save this. But depending on how aggressive DePaul wants to get with that hunt, I mean, he's in one of the more common save spots. So there's not a lot that we can really expect for him to be able to do.
No, there's not much to really save here for Marquette either. Yeah, you're going to save over an M4. It's going to become a hero rifle for them. I'm not liking their shot in this, especially in the CT side of Mirage with DePaul's aggression and the fact they're so coordinated around utility. You can see they still had an entire belt and a half of utility left over, by the way. Chris with the entire belt, the other half between Def and Smoosh. Luckily, they do not see Audiens, and then Audiens is indeed found out. Jump up and over is unsuccessful, at least first 2 attempts, but third time is indeed to charm. And a headshot now found on a Smoosh, but they have to reload. They're being flanked. There's a nade, of which is going to do more team damage than opposing damage, but it's not going to matter. DePaul find a 4th round. Audiens, no real easy way to save there. And also, given an extra second or so, DePaul would have lost 3 rifles, but luckily they don't.
Yeah, a little bit close for comfort on that end. Audien's just kind of getting a rough deal there, and DePaul obviously not interested in giving up another map, getting more and more aggressive, not giving up any rifles, any opportunity for anyone to save or bring any advantage into that next round. And you can see here already they're aware of the economic situation that they've put Marquette into, and they're continuing to do so. So a lot of no fear aggression you can see here, just cautious enough to check out the corners, but those quick kills are coming in and just doing an excellent job of backing up their buddies. Once again, the double kill is going to give them control of the A site, and once again you can see Def pushing into CT, ready to take down an aggression, and Marquette just not able to put up any sort of defense or any answer for any of these kills coming in rapid succession from the DePaul University side.
Def with a little bit of a Goomba stomp as they dropped onto the site, but
Goomba
it's
stomp.
not really ground changing. I love doing that to people where I just hop on their head and just kill them. I Goomba stomp them. I've been playing way too much Smash Bros lately. Anyway, yeah. Def finds the final kill. Audiens wasn't saving that either. There really wasn't all that much to save. Would have done very little to die to them rather than dying to the bomb. Marquette lose again. And DePaul really showing why they were undefeated until all of, I don't know, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what I expected the first map to be looked
Yeah.
like. It was kind of difficult to see, and obviously it was Marquette's choice. So you kind of give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt in terms of their confidence, at least in the map. But I mean, we saw this swing dramatically back and forth over the kind of early to mid rounds. But so far, I mean, this has just been all DePaul, and Marquette hasn't really found much of an answer for it. I mean, we see them here finally getting some of those opening kills, so they're not, 30 seconds into the round with just one player left. But unfortunately for them, just kidding, I guess. Unfortunately for DePaul, a couple missteps and just a molly that didn't quite go deep enough is going to leave just Def with 12 HP on the site, but it doesn't matter. He pops out and takes off Audin's head. It's going to leave 2, and this is a very, very winnable fight for the kill leader on that site. He jumps up. Steve-O going to find that head as he falls back down to the ground. That is going to be the second round finally for Marquette, after DePaul just completely running over them in many of those frequently rounds. And it's got to feel good on the confidence for the Marquette side.
Looking at 4 of the last 5 engagements in that round, it was a combination of chaos. That's really all it was. Yeah. Chris was able to just get dropped on top of the stairs because apparently the whereabouts were not communicated as to the firebox position. And now DePaul are just sending it on to B. They want to say, hey, we'll throw chaos to the wolves at this point. Alter does find a body shot. No follow-up, however, as the bomb will be planted. And DePaul now looking for a post plant. But Ace finds one. Alter a follow-up on another body shot. A 3 versus 2. And they're not slowing down whatsoever. Famas will not find a kill into Smoosh, and it's now Steve-O left alone in a 1 versus 2. They're retaking in through Cat. Breezy's been seen towards bench, but should be repositioning. And Smoosh, now re-aggressing in towards Cat, has now been found out, but Breezy picks up the up and finds the kill immediately thereafter. It's DePaul with a 6-2 scoreline as Marquette are thrown again.
I will never get sick of watching Alter and Chris fight each other with sniper rifles. And as we just saw in that previous round, it doesn't matter whether they've got scouts or ops. There's a bunch of possibilities in how those can just play out because of the skill of those two with any scoped weapon. So that was an impressive effort from Marquette to follow up on their second round. Unfortunately, DePaul just over-aggressing, getting in a positive way and getting a lot of that momentum on their place. And you can see here, just rushing into the B site, absolutely no respect for anybody that might be hiding anywhere on site. Finds 4 kills in rapid succession, and that's going to leave just Steve-O with an upgraded pistol and not a lot of incentive to save, but Smoosh holding that murder hole position. I was going to go the opposite direction, so I stand corrected, but Breezy immediately comes for the refrag, and that's going to be another quick round for DePaul. So it's 7-2. We've seen some moments of life from Marquette, but by and large, this has been DePaul's map.
I mean, in all fairness, it is their map pick, so that would kind of make sense. But at the same time, this is something similar that we saw from Marquette back on Vertigo, and then it was brought back, and DePaul ended up taking the lead, albeit for a fairly short period of time, but a lead nonetheless. So don't count out the CT side just yet. As things start to stabilize, they will play a little bit more into their favor. The CT side needs to aggress quickly, though. Aldines needs to find an opener, has had the first opportunity taken away, but follows up on it and finds at least one opener. Looking for a second, we'll be able to find that as well. Playing a ring around the Rosie with a back corner of sight, finds a double. A 2-for-1 trade favoring Marquette already. Here's a way to start. 4v3 retake as DePaul look to lock it down, and the flank's been dealt with. Miggs is off the board. Hello.
Oh, Chris. So dangerous with that op from any position. And I mean, Marquette played that perfectly to start with. Audines, knowing that they're going to be overwhelmed, able to take a great position there. Oh, no. Chris doesn't even need the scoped weapon to get it. He's got the grenade, and that's going to be enough. And that's going to be a save call from Steve-O with just not a lot of options left. But yeah, I mean, that was a great initial defense, comparatively speaking, to past performances for Marquette. Audines playing from the middle of the site there was able to buy time for the rest of the team to come in. Unfortunately, on the other side of that, Chris playing around that almost same position, just on the opposite side of the wall, just immediately destroying people as they came in. You see that double op kill with the scoped weapons, and then that nade to finish off Alter, getting a little bit of revenge for losing out versus the scout in that previous round. But man, these are the close rounds that we're expecting, and the scoreline, I mean, so far obviously favors DePaul immensely, but Marquette at least finding some sparks of life, continuing off of some of that momentum, and hopefully we're going to see more of that coming through here.
the life that was taken away, however, with Chris finding a leg shot and then the nade actually making contact and then going off. There's really no way to stay alive after that. And now the question for Marquette is, how do they come back? 8-2 is by no means a scoreline you cannot come back from, but Steve-O dropped on top of the default box, Sack with a follow-up onto Ace, and ultimately the last line of defense with a scout in hand. No easy way to come back from this. Migs had a knife out, luckily still alive, and actually finds a kill across onto Def, wasting no time trying to bring his team back into this, and as the IGL, who better to do so? A double now for Migs, as they're wasting no time aggressing onto the site, a flash available, they do not have any other utility other than just a smoke, of which can be used for the bomb, but the kit lies on Audine's. They look to aggress on towards jungle, but Alter's been seen and dropped. Sack running out of ammo actually does so, but Chris finds Migs in the same right. Audine's now seen, being flanked and just shot from in front. We'll give DePaul 9. Marquette cut away once more.
If last game the DePaul star was Def and we saw multiple 3Ks, 4Ks, huge impact kills across almost every round that they won, this is absolutely going to Chris on this map. You see Def obviously keeping up in frags alongside Breezy and Sack, but for the moments that really count, those clutch moments, those huge impact kills, it's been Chris with that op. So it's just emphasizing the importance of what that rifle really means to him and the really necessity for Marquette to be able to take that away from them. Unfortunately, not going to be able to do that here, and because of just the way that they've been playing, that's going to trigger an early rotation from Marquette. It is luckily going to be the right one, but Def already in window playing from that corner position is going to be a quick trade. And now with kills flying back and forth, Breezy playing in that off-angle position is going to find one more. Migs not even aware of where to look to avoid that kill, and Steve-O going to have an opportunity to go up against Chris with that off. Oh man, opting not to take the fight. That's probably the smarter choice.
2v1. Bomb dropped. Steve-O looking to jump around. Will be able to do so. Smoosh with the op-out. Misses a first shot, as does Steve, but it's still a 1v1. Breezy around towards the B side. Steve-O will keep the AK in hand and will look to go that direction. However, from mid, Breezy's gamble is incorrect. Of the 3 options that Steve-O has, Breezy has chosen one of the 2 incorrect ones, and that same right, it's planted for them. So, should Steve-O not clear out market, it will almost certainly be their demise. And there's very little time, in all fairness to Steve-O. They do not have a kit. They have about 8 seconds to hop on the bomb, and you can see them backing away. That's the round. Not even attempting it. DePaul will find double digits in the first half of Mirage, and there's still 3 rounds to play. Not only that, but they still have the CT side to play out in their favor, and I think Steve-O may die here. No, they won't. It'll be Breezy to fall.
A little bit of a consolation there at least, but that's I mean, that's a great example of how you can play this game without firing a shot, right? Just a great positioning by Breezy, just kind of instill that lack of confidence to one, be able to clear that out and deal with a site that has so many different places to sit in. This is really gone very well for DePaul, obviously, as you can see from the score line, but just in these individual rounds, they seem to be able to make the right decisions, hit the right areas with a lot of confidence. And this is going to be up to Audine's again, who was the hero sort of that round that they almost won previously, but almost doesn't count when it comes down to the scoreboard. He is able to find 2 there, and it's going to get Breezy putting the bomb down as the rest of the Marquette team starts the rotations and ready for the retake. So a 4v3 made that a 3v3 as Migs tries to be a little bit cheeky there. Just going to be increasingly difficult, but also increasingly important for Marquette. They're running out of rounds to try to bring something in this half back.
Ace dropped inside of the Molotov. It's a 2v1. Chris in the backside of bench will find a first. Needs to reposition for the second. Alter has jumped out of the window, but their feet have been seen on the bottom side of the smoke. The smoke ever so perfectly placed to give DePaul the advantage. And another round. Another clutch and another bit of perfection in their favor. Yeah, only 1 player stays alive, but they've won 11 of 13 rounds. Their economy pretty far forward, if you look at it.
You can hear the chants "Chris for President" all the way from Chicago here in New York as he continues to just make these huge plays in almost every situation that he's been in. And DePaul, you can see it in the way that they're aggressing on this T side. Absolutely no fear of anything that Marquette is able to put up. We see Chris putting yet another kill on the board. Marquette, you know, they're trying for something. You know, there's still 1 more round left after this, so they got to try to position themselves to at least make this a 3-12 if they're going to have any prayer of getting back in it. And if they don't get that pistol, this map is almost over, and it looks like it's going to end up in DePaul's favor. We look at round differential after we look at outright map wins, and DePaul obviously so far a commanding lead on this, and quite a big difference from what we saw in Vertigo.
But you're not expecting Marquette to just casually pick up, like, at minimum 10 rounds in the second half? Ugh, you doubter, Tyler. Can't believe you. You sound like me.
You know me.
You sound like me.
Listen, I'm incredibly optimistic about all of our team's performances, regardless of what the standings say or what the numbers look like. However, it is absolutely fair to say that DePaul has found just tons and tons of success here. You can see Marquette trying to make those adjustments across the board, trying to deal with the way that DePaul has been aggressing to either mid or that A site. But then they just go to B. It doesn't even matter. And you can see the way that they're positioning is just done such a great job for them. They know all the positions and all the smokes. They know where it is.
Gosh.
That's going to be just an absolutely ridiculous and just quick, clean, and calculated, and that is going to put DePaul at the end of the half 13-2 in favor of DePaul over Marquette. So Marquette switching over to the T side, that is a gigantic hill that they need to climb, and the way that the momentum is going, I mean, if they don't get this pistol round, I would say this map, it could be over. It probably is over.
Honestly, pistol round or not, it's not looking great. Marquette would have to pick up 13 of 15 rounds on the T side of their opponent's map pick, of which they've looked about just as clean as a team can be on a map. For all of you wondering, they've beaten RIT 16-4, UConn 16-12, that was a close game, Weber State 16-3, and, well, they're looking to close out Marquette in just as quick fashion. DePaul's CT side, pistol at least, needs to show up, and, well, Def at least has, but now in a 1v2 needs to pick up a 3K on the round. Everybody missing their shots. A follow-up headshot will indeed land, and Audine's with a Tech 9 and a 1v1. Certainly possible to go in their favor, but Marquette need to rely on Audine's again, of whom is top fragging and tied with Stevo. The drop down to connector hasn't been heard, however, but it doesn't matter. Deans finds the double to close out the round, Def is taken off the board, and Marquette win the T-sided pistol just the same.
If, and it's a big if, I know, Marquette comes back in this, I think we're going to look back at that round as the moment that it all kind of fell apart. I mean, that was just, Def had everything going for them, and Audience did it like such a, oh my God, there's so many things that happened in that round that were absolutely worth talking about. But the conclusion of that round going in Marquette's favor could be a bellwether for the rest of this, or it could just be a little bit of a buoy and a giant storm that is named DePaul. And boy, I can already, just watching how they've been playing, they're not interested in allowing for any momentum to be built. And we're going to see that, I'm sure, in this round and how aggressively they play for the retake. But man, it's been incredible to watch these two teams going back and forth.
This is why you clear your corners, kids. Ace does find a refrag, so Def is now taken off the board, but low HP on Ace, and the retake certainly possible here for DePaul. They do not have a kit, which could be a downfall for them. Ace is playing on the backside of default. It is planted for a ramp, however, and with this MAC-10 out, headshots are required and are indeed found, but it's only headshot to do damage rather than to find a kill onto Breezy, and they have returned one of their own. Low HP for them, the spray finally does indeed land, and Chris without a kit is not going to win this round. It's a question of how many rifles are taken off the board. The answer? Well, all of them other than one. Migs will find the refrag and the AK. Marquette do win the round, but only keep one player alive. So DePaul bringing it right back.
They're really clawing for literally anything that they can bring from this, and that rifle super important to bring forward into this next round. So Marquette, able to find a little bit of momentum here. They're now 4-13, still very dire circumstances as you think about the overall situation. But these bits of momentum, winning some of these battles, especially as we see DePaul making that aggression up into mid, answered by Alter immediately. Winning a little bit of these early battles, just trying to, claw whatever they can, take one step at a time, just trying to rebuild that confidence and momentum is going to be huge. So as we watch this round start to come together, we can see that DePaul tons and tons of information from Smoosh here. They know that they're not in this apps area. They can expect something to come either from the mid or A position. But Ace seems to have just a little inkling that somebody might have pushed through. He's going to see the beginning of that rifle, and that's going to be a quick trade, 1-for-1 across the map. And Def playing from that CT position, continuing to just have a huge amount of impact. But as he's taken off the board, the one player left from DePaul, taken out by Steve-O, pushing from that Palace position, doing an excellent job to just, again, one by one, round by round, step by step, continue to build something. However, they're also dealing with just a 3-round margin for victory. So Marquette does not have the ability to make any mistakes here.
Sticks never easily come by for Marquette. Going back to last season, they made very few. But DePaul, in the same right, have a lot of leeway. And so many mulligans I've lost count at this point. They have an 8-round lead, are 3 away from closing out this series with a round advantage and inevitably technically a series victory based off of that round advantage. But Steve-O, if they continue to hit shots like that, will make sure that this map continues. Looking for another, we'll be able to find Def just the same. Clean double on the site, a smoke towards CT, almost certainly securing a bomb plant, of which is being rotated in by Alter. DePaul really only have Deagles here, and a set of armor on Breezy, sure. Not round victory-esque by any means. The jump up and over, well, unsuccessful. Steve-O shuts that down just the same. Triple for them and Marquette round. Barring any miracles for Breezy, they found a first. No way they found any more, but they found a second. 20 HP, armor, and some time to work with, but Steve-O will make sure it's a 4K instead of a 4K for Breezy, and Marquette's now 6th.
A little bit of a more expensive round than Marquette probably were expecting as they went into there. But you leave Breezy alive, you leave Chris alive, you leave Def alive, especially. Any of those 3 players are going to make a very uncomfortable potential end to it. So doing their job. And here we see Marquette now 6 rounds on the board, still a 7-round deficit that they have to overcome for anything real to come of it. And now DePaul back at full strength. Notably, probably most importantly at this point, as we've pointed out a few times, or at least I have, Chris is back on that op. So now it's really about Marquette being able to find some of these early wins as they have in the last couple of rounds that they've won, to not let themselves get in front of that scope of Chris and just continue to edge through whatever amount of territory and information they can get and pick off those kills. But Breezy kind of started off great for the DePaul side.
Up, out, Chris, flirting with death, in all fairness, as is Steve-O. But it's DePaul's opener that could propel them forward. Again, this is the first real time they've had full rifles up against full rifles. Steve-O still alive by the hair of their chinny chin-chins, just as the same for Marquette in the previous map. They've yet to clear out the balcony. Decent bit of team damage done onto Audines, but they still have to clear out the van, and they do so without losing a life at that. Nobody around this B side should be a fairly early bomb plant, and a late rotation all the way around from main for Steve-O should give them a possibility of a flank, albeit it's a flank to a flank, and Audines now seeing it finds the kill. 4v3 for DePaul as they need to speed up this retake, and quickly so. Not gonna happen.
This is looking really good for Marquette so far. I say that as they still have 2 players on the board. One of them, which was Chris, who we've already talked about, he just immediately turned around, especially when there's somebody else on their side. But I think that round specifically was a huge testament to the turnaround that we've seen from Marquette so far. I mean, you know, they were struggling in all those previous situations in the 13 rounds that DePaul won, of just being able to get anything to click the way that they wanted to. So that was a big confidence booster, a great way to say, hey, you know, we're back in it, we're finding our groove, we're doing really well in terms of our comfort zone, and now they just have to close it out. There's still quite a bit of rounds between them and DePaul, and they can only screw up twice. So whether or not that continues is still a huge question mark, but at least they're making progress, and so far going well for them.
Progress is better than nothing here for DePaul, but at the same time, Marquette's making a whole lot of progress. Now just 6 rounds the deficit between the 2 teams. Smoosh playing a one-way with a 5-7. Somehow is still alive, by the way, without all that much to work around, other than a 5-7. No armor, no utility, and somehow a lottery ticket in their back pocket just the same. Def finds a headshot. It's a 5v1. DePaul, if they're going to win a round, this would be the one to do so. Flawlessly at that. They're going to walk away with rifles. They couldn't win a round to save their life in the first 4 rounds of this half. They walk away with the more difficult of any thus far.
That's exactly I mean, that's the worst case scenario for Marquette to have gone from such a huge win, and I maybe overhyped that in disservice of what just happened there. But to Paul, finding that answer, digging deep down to say like, hey, we've stumbled a little bit here, we've had some issues, but we're not giving that up and just cleanly not losing a single life off their team. And I mean, putting this on map tie point is a huge position for that to be. It just continues to ratchet up that pressure for Marquette. It leaves the opportunity for Marquette to either rise or buckle under the pressure. But man, that is an incredible amount of pressure that they have to deal with now.
Maybe Marquette just decides in back-to-back weeks to tie up both of their series. Last week it was a 16-14 win and then a 19-17 loss, or vice versa. And this week it could be a 16-12 win and then a 16-12 loss. You never really know at this point. Made through. Decent bit of damage done. Also, one is seen. Mig's now dropped at the top of mid. Chris finds the opener, the all-important one at that. DePaul always clean when they find opening kills, and Def finds another. Albeit, there is a trade from Ace, but not round-changing by any means. Now, could be, as Audines drops Chris in their same right. Yeah, utility damage done here for DePaul, but it's a 3v3, and Marquette can work around this.
Not a terrible position to be in, but not a great position to be in, especially because they still have Def up, and Breezy has just been holding down that position so well from the windows, looking for more of that information, and it's just going to continue to make that a more difficult mission for Marquette. Marquette kind of in no man's land right now. I mean, you can see them top mid and bottom mid respectively, just trying to find any sort of opening. My guess is they're going to try to push through this connector position, hopefully gambling that there's either going to be one or no players from DePaul, but they're running out of time for that to happen. You can see the Breezy kind of expecting that things might be changing, is moving over to cover that window position, and their timing for Smoosh, oh man, that's devastating and heartbreaking for the Marquette side. Just wrong time, took way too much time to get out of mid, hoping to get some sort of information, and that ultimately bites them in the ass.
That was basically a requisite round victory for Marquette as well. Looking at their
Yeah.
economy, this is not a buy by any means. If they could win that and then start to buy up and maybe build up another set of an economy for a loss, then they're in this. But DePaul have a full buy. They have money to work around, and Marquette are coming into this with three Tech 9s, a Mac 10, and a Deagle, along with a few prayers to whatever deity they believe in. Because for the time being, this is a far cry from a round victory, and already a 3-for-1 trade puts DePaul up and over top. Audines and Alter, a combined 101 HP between them. They need to be able to come away with this round victory. Alter's retrieved an M4, so there is a caveat to their current situation, and he does find one. But Audines is now left alone, has clutched in the B site before, will not do so again. DePaul win the series. While yes, it's a 16-12 loss to open things up, they return with a 16-7 victory.
Great answer from DePaul overall on their map pick. I mean, this is, I think, just sort of based on what we've seen in DePaul from previous maps, they seemed almost unstoppable. They went up against some decent teams. Not a lot of challenge, really, frankly. I mean, we talked a little bit about the closer map, 16-12 on Mirage when they played against UConn. But other than that, they've just been steamrolling through people. And Marquette coming out swinging on Vertigo, doing such an excellent job of making that happen. It was really difficult to see or expect or predict, certainly, what was going to happen. But we kind of saw the DePaul that we know and love pop out there at the end and really, by and large, dominate Mirage overall. And Marquette, to their credit, able to eke out a couple rounds, a little bit of life here and there. But good games to both of these teams. An absolutely impressive performance, and one that was an absolute pleasure to watch.
Especially with DePaul's ability to come back. When you have such a good comeback on Vertigo specifically, reminder, they were down 7-2, similar to that of Marquette here on Mirage. You're able to bring that back and make it a 12-8, 12-9 scoreline, and then you lose? That's got to be demoralizing. But then you walk away with Mirage on the T side, no less, like it's nobody's business, and they walk away with the map victory because of it. Yeah, they lost a few opening rounds on the CT side, but that's to be expected, and it happened to both teams. They stabilized much quicker and much better than we saw on the opposite. Our second series, not scheduled to start until 6:20. We'll see if we can get an interview with DePaul. If we do, we'll be back in a few minutes. If not, it's about 15 till Weber State takes on UConn. Hopefully, we'll see you then. Second and final series of the day here in EGFC's CSGO Week 6. It's Weber State taking on UConn, the team that was, until about an hour ago, tied up with Marquette in terms of round differential and maps in their entirety, has now fallen back just a little bit, but can still retake that top spot with a win this week. Weber State would have to be the victims of the Huskies once more. Time to Late still joined alongside me is Viking and Tyler into this matchup. We start with Mirage, we then head to Inferno for our second. Any favorites coming in?
I think I'm going to have to give the edge to UConn in this case. I mean, they struggled a little bit in the opening weeks as they were kind of getting settled into the new league, new team, all those types of things, but have been absolutely dominant since then. You can see there on the screen, we just saw the performance from Marquette, able to take their first map off of DePaul ever in terms of this season. And UConn has stayed right with them by and large. So I think the overall benefit is going to go to them. They tied 1-for-1 from Marquette. So we've talked about how they're kind of the clear top three between DePaul, Marquette, and UConn at this point. Weber State has been a little bit slower on the get-go. They have a negative record of 2-6 maps. The round differential, not too bad, and they've had some tough opponents as they played through the last couple of weeks. They've played Villanova, who after a difficult week went really, really strong from there. They played DePaul, and then most recently had a played against RAT, who's been a pretty strong team in their own right, depending on the moment. So I think, again, looking good for UConn, but we've seen lots of surprises before, and we've learned even from that last map not to expect anything too heavily going into it. So very excited to see Weber State start off on the T side of Mirage.
The T side has to be really freaking good. I'm not going to beat around the bush. UConn's a really good T-sided team. And most importantly, when they get onto the T side of Mirage, that's when push comes to shove and you start to get scared. Hold up. Wait. No, we're going to that smoke. Did you see that?
Where did that land?
What?
Oh, not quite. What?
It landed
Was that
up there. I think that was intentional.
To land above it, maybe. Yeah, I haven't seen that one before. That's an interesting thought process. Yeah, I mean, while all of that confusion is going on, we see that Weber State has actually done a pretty good job of getting there, but Loverman not letting his team down is now up to his fourth kill of the round, and it's just Coma listening there trying to take something out. He does find the bomb diffuser, so he's going to get people off of it just a little bit longer, and those seconds climb down. He's going to have to find the first one. He does. He's going to be able to... Oh.
No time.
Oh my goodness.
What? Okay. Well, Loverman finds a 4K, but Weber State still pick up the pistol round. Coma, very well-timed clutch from them. Understanding where they needed to take fights as well, immediately swinging onto the first diffuser while their whereabouts weren't known, and then understanding that UConn were going to try and protect the diffuser as long as humanly possible, and from as far off an angle from the bomb itself as they could. Swinging towards that boost position around towards that palace entrance, not an easy feat, but they do it. And now Weber State looking to rush towards the B side. DeSovo finds a body shot across onto Emerald Arrow, but not a kill by any means. Deagle comes out, but they Goomba stomp on top of JL. This round far from over, though. 2-for-2 trade. UConn still in it.
Yeah, wise buy up here from UConn. Great flash. Loverman finding Coma, the hero of the previous round, out there. DeSovo continuing to lay down damage with that scout despite being so low on HP. And Torpedo and Delvrod just sitting on site, trying desperately to just bring down that clock to whatever time they can. That's not going to be for this world. It's DeSovo. Such an impact across the board there. I mean, we saw that initial damage that he laid down in mid there. Managed to stay alive, get around with life, playing conservatively enough to just lay down continuous body shots and really set up the rest of his team for just a great end to the round there. So UConn caught maybe a little off guard in that first round, especially with that individual performance from Coma that we already talked about, coming back immediately. And now Weber State's got to try to, think through how they're going to deal with this. You can see that they've opted for a bunch of deagles. They're all going to rush out in the mid, I guess, to see if they can get something with a shooting gallery. And they do get the first one. So that's something maybe worth that investment. But it does seem to be going quickly downhill as UConn is kind of caught on to the game and is starting to clean up already in mid.
Firing squad with hand cannons versus the firing squad with rifles and a MAC-10. I will take the rifles and MAC-10 in that engagement just about every day of the week. Weber State I don't think this is a round you win. Maybe you get a bomb plant, help yourself economically. Maybe you take away another gun from UConn and hurt them economically. But other than that, this is not a round you should be coming out on top of. Barring, again, any miracles. And we've seen a few before. Near miracles, actual miracles, somewhere in the middle, what have you. All in the previous series, by the way. It was a roller coaster of a matchup. But UConn a little bit more comfortable at this point, and they've stabilized a little bit more on the CT side early on, which is important for them. 123 already taking out Torpedo, and now it's Coma. Coma's clutch before, albeit it was a 1v3, and the bomb was down, and the opposing side also had pistols. Plus, they didn't originally know his whereabouts. I'm not liking their chances.
Yeah, that shot giving away their position, just like a couple missed clicks there. It's, you know, a good effort, a good angle, but ultimately not going to net any additional kills for the Weber State team. So now they're coming back. They're in a position where I would anticipate maybe a light buy. You see a couple of them have been going a little bit harder on the economics there. You see lots of AKs coming down a little bit later on the util. So we're going to see kind of what their first gun rounds strategies are going to look like. We can see they're, you know, opting towards that B bomb site, a little bit of presence over in mid. Notably, DeSovo, who'd been playing in that window position, as I mentioned, that is making use of the weapon I was going to mention that he picked up. So UConn not interested at all in giving up what's going on in the mid position, pushing forward and taking out 2 players. So that was a great gamble, and maybe taking out a third. Dalbrot really struggling behind the wagon there, trying to find something. And Weber State kind of forced to come back and think a little bit more about what they're doing. So UConn, I mean, you know, we talked about the stumble at the first round, but they do not seem like they're going to miss any additional steps as we've seen them coming really strongly through these next couple of rounds. Oh, he's going to check.
Do they clear this
side.
close corner? It seems like he will.
Yeah.
Torpedo drops JL. Due diligence now for the T side. Scout, and it's an op now for DeSovo, and the body shot found finds the kill. Lethality from the waist up will find at least one. Looking for another now is Torpedo after finding at least a first, but they have to deal with a flank, and notably they don't have the bomb. It's sitting on top of the balcony inside of the apartments. The flank in through the apartments.
Oh, no.
Mr. Loverman, freest kill of their collegiate career at this point, considering Torpedo was not only on the other side of a smoke, the bomb was down inside of the aforementioned smoke, and they were looking the wrong way. Loverman has the element of surprise and a rifle. Pretty clean combination to find a kill.
Yeah, tough situation to come out of for Weber State, especially when DeSovo got over there with the op that just continues to kind of shut down the ability to cross over. And obviously, in any aggression, you want to hold on to the bomb and at least give yourself an opportunity to get the bomb down, maybe under some cover. Didn't happen. So UConn kind of changing the way that they want to, you know, see things happen, right? They were maybe a little over aggressive on that first round. I'm going to keep coming back to that just one last time. But since then, their aggression has been a key asset for them. They're getting tons and tons of information. We saw from Loverman there with that very easy kill at the end coming through, gets lots of information. Same thing is true here. You see the immediate rotation from UConn coming out, ready to answer this. Coma, who had picked up an M4, does actually find Loverman, but I don't think they are aware the tide already pushed through that. So once again, those super quick rotations coming back from the flank. A lot of aggression for that early information is playing really well for UConn. So Weber State might be forced into this situation where they're going to have to play back a little bit more conservative, wait for some of those pushes and hope to win some of those 1v1s and try to take advantage of wherever those picks come from. Otherwise, you know, UConn could end up in a position where they just get to play bully round after round.
I don't think that bullying is going to stop anytime soon. Op out for both teams. Coma, the wielder of Big Green here for Weber State. Nice Molotov by Mr. Loverman. Will do more damage to actually nobody. Luckily, it didn't hit their teammates, so yeah, it's just wasted $600. Who cares? Not the end of the world by any means. They're winning by 3 rounds and have an economic advantage. And 1-2-3 finds the opener into Coma. So the op I talked about is now gone and taken off the board. In all fairness, Mr. Loverman now has the op because they're down on 2 HP. I forget what law that is. There's some law in CSGO. It's somebody's name and then law. It's kind of like Draken's Law.
Super insightful.
What?
No, please continue. Tell me about this law.
TLDR, if you're low HP and your teammate isn't, you drop the low HP player the op because one-shot potential on both sides. Gives them a better shot of winning a fight, not needing a headshot.
Just want to point out that great play from 1-2-3 there to jump up on the pot. You see Delvry kind of had that indication that somebody might be in that smoke or pushing through the smoke. but that pot was the difference between life and death, literally, for 1-2-3 there, and it's actually able to peek just over the smoke to get that. So UConn, things are just coming up for them. They're finding, like I said, a lot of information in that aggression. It's panning out really well for them, and Weber State just haven't really been able to find an answer after that first round so far, which, it happens as you start to kind of push through and figure out just exactly how you want to deal with things. So Weber State's going to try for stronger aggression towards the B site this time around. But with UConn, already have 4 players. I mean, they just know that something's going on already. It's going to be a very difficult entry if they manage to even get out of the apartments.
Doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Them getting out of the apartments. All 4 players die without fully exiting and or landing on their feet. Emerald Arrow, now in a 1 versus 5, has an AK, armor, and an HE grenade, but is A, yet to find a kill, and B, needs to ace clutch to walk away. They will find a first, so baby steps in their favor. 2 players are low on the opposing side. About 2 shots required apiece between Mr. Loverman and Ty, but they will clear out the kitchen, and Ty, even blinded by their teammate, will still find the kill. UConn now finds 6, and Weber State still with not all that much of an answer. The only round thus far they've picked up is the pistol.
So far, so good for UConn. I don't think there's been anything that's really indicated a potential issue. They're doing really great jobs of reading all of the different elements of each round. We saw that all 4 members of UConn already knew that Weber State were going to be on that side before they even exited the apartments, and that gave me a chance to set up, really shut everything down before it even really got started. You can see this continued aggression here. 1-2-3 pushing already like right up to the edge of those flames. Is going to find Emerald Arrow. And now tries are going to try to find 1-2-3 with a nade out that's going to net them something, pick up the AK. So a couple kills going into that, but still not quite enough to get them out on the site. And you can feel the UConn pressure already starting to build as more of those teammates come in. Reinforcements come down to shut down the bomb aggression, and just 2 players left on the Weber State side. Not a lot of hope for them at this point.
No, it's not looking all that good. And in all fairness, this wasn't a round that Weber State was really looking to win. Setting expectations is important when you come into a CSGO round and or map. And, well, they had deagles. Economic damage is good. Taking away a second rifle? Sure. Picking up said second rifle and trying to do damage with it? Almost, but Torpedo just caught off guard a little bit. UConn will find a 7th. Weber State still with only the pistol round victory. And the Huskies not slowing down by any means. A brief reminder, by the way, this is Weber State's map selection. UConn chose Inferno, of which is our 2nd map of the series. And UConn's already got a 6-round lead.
Yeah, it's really difficult to tell exactly what they need to be doing differently, because everything that they've tried so far with some variation has just been met by this aggression that we see from Loverman, who comes up on the positive side of that before being taken out in town. So that's a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Weber State. So as I say, I don't know what they need to change. One of that was definitely get more kills, and they've done just that. So a great opening to the round just to start. But Weber State still with a 6-round deficit, and still 3 very dangerous players on the board here, especially that op onto Sovo. And the performance of 1-2-3 so far just continuing to suggest a great shutdown. So they're going to edge closely to this A site and hopefully work their way towards a 2nd round. Finding 1-2-3, an easy task with already quite a bit of health off of him. Weber State's finally going to have control of a bomb site and get the first plant in, I'd say, 5 rounds?
It's been a little while. Spray through, probably should have found a kill. Dalvrot still alive for the time being. DeSova with an op of their own from CT, looking to swing towards the firebox and finds a kill there. Now a 2v2, but unfortunately, with JL walking straight past jungle, they didn't actually clear out the position. DeSovo now with an op needs to retake, not only from main, but around from jungle as well. The swing from Dalvrot should be able to find the kill, and does indeed. Emerald Arrow already flashed DeSovo off the angle, and was still distracting them from the jungle position, giving Dalvrot the free opportunity to swing unrestricted, and, most importantly, give Weber State their 2nd round.
I think that kind of goes to what the formula for success for Weber State could be. We've talked already about how UConn has been incredibly aggressive. They want all of this early information. They feel confident in their ability to win some of these 1v1 isolated battles that you get kind of in those early default stages. And then off of that information, they've been able to rotate aggressively and consistently. When Weber State is able to shut that down, as we saw Loverman pushing up into mid, that equation obviously starts to go in the other direction. So Loverman jumping up there, getting another cheeky kill, is going to find the first player from the Weber State side in top mid. It's going to put them down early in the round already. You can see them sitting up for these smoke executes. Going to try to overwhelm and do something. And UConn, not ready to rotate yet, is going to play off of that information coming up shortly. But so far, it's really about this opening kill. And 1-2-3 playing from that deep ninja position, just doing an excellent job of shutting down the aggression as it starts.
Closer comfort. Dalvrot almost hits the shot there, but UConn's still alive and still kicking for the time being. Swing towards Torpedo. Decent bit of damage done on both sides, but Tai overall loses the engagement, but doesn't lose their life. Finally does, but 123 responds with a kill of their own. It's now Torpedo in a 1v4 now, instead of a 1v5, in which their predecessors were stuck into. They will find the first, and then immediately die, looking for the second. UConn now find an eighth. They give away a round, and then immediately, with fairly clean consciousness, find a follow-up.
Similar formula each round, I think, from UConn. Weber State have not just really found that combination to unlock, how they get past that gate that UConn continues to just kind of slam in their faces before they really get started. Again, their approaches to these bomb sites have found, I think, sort of the basic foundational elements of what you want to get to, but the individual efforts of UConn players, especially 1-2-3 and Loverman in mid, have just continued to make the opening rounds, like we just see there from Delrod from behind the boxes, just an absolute nightmare for Weber State as they're trying to make these aggressions. Finally, some answers from Underpass. Trizer is going to be able to get an opening kill there, but Loverman now kind of looking for something. He's going to drop that molly and stop that aggression. So it's going to trap a bunch of the Weber State players towards that B site. Without a lot of presence on the rest of the map, we're going to see if UConn continues with their aggression and starts to push in on the rest of the map and see if they can just continue to kind of shut those vice grips down on the Weber State team.
Issue is removing vice grips without the key to the lock that apparently is on them. A little easier said than done, and Huskies have thrown the key down a river that has landed inside the Atlantic Ocean. Weber State never to be seen again. At least seemingly, with the scoreline and the fact they continue with this dominance and just aggression. Torpedo's about to jump out of the apartments. They've left the bomb on the backside, so even should they find these kills, there's still time for the rotate to come through. Mr. Loverman was on the backside of the apartments and actually could have rotated to find the bomb, but took too long, and the indecisiveness could cost them. They will rotate in through Cat and hear the rotation coming through, but even then, Coma's on a flank through A main. Finding the kill there, looking for another onto 123, who's looking the wrong way, and will fall. Weber State, an unconventional round, but a round victory in their favor.
I'm a huge fan of that underpass positioning. I think there's a lot of places that you can really get a lot of value, whether you're picking somebody from con or from window in that position, if it goes your direction. And that's exactly what happened in that last round. Weber State able to change up their vectors of approach a little bit. They did lose Dalvrod at the top of mid, but it didn't really matter because they were able to answer that. And in the wake of all of that chaos, Weber State able to do some great work. Take out the third round, and we see a lot of the same from Loverman, but this time Loverman being incredibly aware of that underpass position could spell disaster for Coma pushing that underpass position, but just a little bit of difference. What? I can't believe he made that gap. No one knows he's in bottom mid right now.
Wait a second. They found a gap to work around, and that smoke towards window. Well, okay, never mind. I should stop talking. That's probably
it was almost too good to be true, and then it was. And Tai.
Yeah. Ty's not slowing down either. As soon as I say Ty's not slowing down either, they die. In back-to-back sentences, I curse two different teams.
Yeah. Well, remind me not to let you into my Counter-Strike games. I have a hard enough time as it is.
So do I. That's why I don't even try and make predictions in my Counter-Strike games. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try and flank. Immediately dies. Oh, I'm gonna try and execute onto A. Immediately gets cut away because they stacked it. That's got to be caster luck right there, without actually casters cursing.
A little rough.
Not fun.
Not as rough as the situation that Trizer finds themselves in. They do have the potential to get onto this. They have one to beat, but they're looking the wrong direction. If they check that angle, they did check it, just the wrong angle at the wrong time, and that's the huge benefit of having those benches and flower pots and things scattered about the map. So another clean round from UConn, going to put them up 9-3. Weber State able to find some success, limited success, albeit it's something, and that's exactly what they're trying to push here, and trying to position themselves for hopefully what could be an easier CT side. So a couple more performances like that, and get yourself like a 10-5, 9-6 kind of score line. Maybe a tall answer based on how things are going so far, but certainly within the realm of possibility, and that's going to position them very, very well for the second half, and give them a great chance to start that off and ultimately finish this map, hopefully with a favorable outcome for them.
Positioning is always important, whether it be in gunfights or in the map as a whole. Mr. Loverman, well positioned, avoids the smoke that was supposed to cut them away. Well, albeit it was supposed to cut out the op that was sitting in window away, but DeSovo also faking the fact that there was only one Loverman there for the help and the kill. Weber State are putting themselves in a better position, but, I mean, better than down 9-2 or 8-1. Not all that difficult. They need to be in a better position than that, because yeah, they're pushing onto a B site, but it's fully occupied. Mr. Loverman is backed up to the catwalk position. That nade does like 110 damage between 3 players. No easy way to make it out, but Emerald Arrow finds the refrag onto Mr. Loverman, so at a bare minimum, one of the 2 ops has been taken away.
This is kind of the killer, though. They did find Loverman there and were able to actually find that kill, which is great, but they got stuck in this apartment again, and now the bomb falling out of apartments. You can see the Yukon crossfire just coming in. Everybody holding every angle from several different positions is just going to make it impossible. So I think that the elements are there, but in these cases, and we've seen this happen in a couple of different teams that are, maybe just a little bit newer on the team comp or whatever the case may be, without the confidence to just get out, whether that's retreating and trying again elsewhere, or just saying, press W, we're going for it, and getting out of apartments to try to get a better position. I think that was a big difference between what we're seeing in this map and what we saw in Marquette versus DePaul. And there's got to be more of that if Weber State's going to pull out any additional rounds. But Yukon, with this incredible amount of aggression, just going absolutely ham on Weber State, finding 3 kills in the opening 25 seconds of that round. And what Devrod is able to find, Ty is going to stand in that molly, and that could be the end of his life pretty quickly, with Yukon just continuing to treat mid like a shooting gallery. And that's going to be the end of the round and the 11th on the board for Yukon.
Another quick round for Yukon. Weber State, yeah, similar to that of prior rounds, it was a round they should not have picked up because they had lesser weaponry. But you have too many of those and a half, like honestly they have, and Yukon basically able to pick up probably 4 or 5 free rounds because Weber State just didn't have a buy. Add that on to the fact that there were 5 or 6 rounds in which they did, and you're looking at even more rounds in favor of Yukon because they just have been continually winning gunfights. Loverman does, and then doesn't. So a 1-for-1 trade, really not all that impactful. Outstanding smoke from Ty, though. Lands in the middle of sight and denies no vision to nobody.
We all have those moments. I mean, there's a little bit of a benefit theoretically, but Ty peeking over the top of the stairs, unfortunately, wrong place, wrong time. Coma with a scope right there is going to find a huge advantage of that. Now they're going to try to push out onto that 8th site. You can see that there are already 2 players from Yukon there. One of them, unfortunately for the Weber State team, is 123, who just continuously lit them up and created huge problems as they try to take the site in the past, and continue to do so here with an opening 2 frag. That's quite a bit.
And a quick rotate from JL with an AK in hand. 123 yet to reload. No sound cues given over, no indication as to their whereabouts. JL about to swing off the back of their teammate. DeSovo distracts Coma, and JL will find the kill upon them. Yukon with a 12-3 first half scoreline on the CT side of their opponent's map selection, basically putting Weber State between a rock, a hard place, and very nearly a loss. Not looking all that great for the Claw Gaming side.
A lot of that's on the back of Mr. Loverman, Ty, and 123. We can see, obviously, from a stats perspective, they're the kill leaders on the board, but huge credit to 123 sitting on that A site, able to shut down any aggression as it comes in. Loverman just absolutely wreaking havoc across that mid position. Lots and lots of opening kills, creating just really uncomfortable positions for Weber State. So now Weber State turn on the CT side, going to see what they can do to shut anything down. Armor across the board, opting for those long distance battles. We're going to see how they fare with Coma with the opening kill, traded by 123, and Yukon starting to take additional kills as they push up Cat, trying to take that B site.
They understand that the rotation was baited around towards the A side, so B has to be aggressed upon quickly so. Trizer's run out of ammo inside of the apartments, reloads, and is able to find a kill into 1-2-3 with a massive assistance from Emerald Arrow. Now a 1 versus 2 for Ty, already finding 1 kill in the round, and a headshot onto Emerald Arrow, but Coma returns with a headshot of their own, of which is significantly more lethal. And Weber State, the all-important second half pistol round victory, will give them at least some semblance of an advantage to try and come back in this map.
Love those glimmers of hope. Weber State doing an excellent job with both pistol rounds in that case. Going to give them not a lot of breathing room, but at least a little bit of hope, as you said. So Weber State on the CT side, good opening kill. Now it's really up for that follow-up. You can see that UConn opted for a little bit of a heavier buy. Emerald Emerald with the AUG, kind of an atypical buy. I mean, in most cases, but certainly on the second round, does find their money's worth there with that 2K. And so now it really just comes down to the two remaining UConn players and what they can do with the Scout and a Deagle. And some of those peaks, they're just giving up free damage at that point, and it's much better decision for Weber State to just kind of sit there, hold back a little bit, don't give up anything that they don't need to, because they're dealing with two of the more deadly players, or well, one of the more deadly players, and Mr. Loverman, the current frag leader on that UConn side.
Yeah, but at the same time, DeSovo has a scoped weapon, so don't count them out either. Kind of nasty with it. Weber State, yeah, it's a 3v2. Yeah, they have a weapon advantage. It's a Deagle and a Scout versus 2 MP9s and an AUG. The first of 2 MP9s will find 1, but it's 5 HP now for Torpedo. DeSovo can take out 2 different players with just a single shot of their Tech 9, maybe 2, depending on where it lands. There's 1. Torpedo dead. Coma still sitting inside of the Palace, however, will be able to find the kill onto DeSovo and give Weber State the conversion round victory. Decent bit of economic damage done, but Trizer recovers the UMP, Coma retains their AUG, and Weber State do indeed convert that second round victory.
I guess the secret is buy an AUG second round. It seems to work out pretty well for them there. They're going to opt not for that MP, or for that excuse me. So looking pretty well. We see UConn making lots of aggression out towards that mid position. We're going to see what kind of battles we can see here. A couple peaks with a little bit of information. Net 0 kills for either side. So UConn not really finding a lot of early aggression or a lot of value, but Mr. Loverman, someone we've seen on the kill feed quite a bit, able to find an Emerald Arrow, removes that AUG from the state of play, and they've basically given up mid at this point, which is probably the right. I guess that's correct, but if UConn realizes there's only one player on that A site that's going to be super deadly, unfortunately, it's coming with the op. These kills now going in favor of Weber State, so taking advantage of the gun differential, the firepower there, going so far well for Weber State.
Torpedo with a flank though. Should be able to find 2. The crouch leads to body shots only. The swing from mid, DeSovo finds a refrag, and still has the rifle in hand. Dalvrot is a single shot from just about any weapon in the game from death, from just about any range. Trizer 2 or 3, depending on who hits them, but it's Dalvrot to fall first. It's an M4 and an up against an AUG and a FAMAS, and they're walking in towards the M4 on the T side. They've seen it, and they've dropped it. 1v2 for Coma, with an op on a retake and no kit to work with. They have to take cat control away from 1-2-3, who's just sitting in get right, and DeSovo's not even going to give Coma the time of day. The op, not seeing a dang thing from the market window, will have to walk in blind. No utility, no kit, and very little time to work off of because of that. They have about 10 seconds to hop on the bomb and stick it through just to win the round. And you can see the hesitancy will almost certainly cost them the round. It's a question of whether they save over the op or not that really will lie in their favor into the following. DeSovo will not try to aggress through the market window, and UConn, with Deagles, by the way, walk away with a round victory. Oh. And both rifles.
Yeah, difficult position to be in when, you know, there's a round that you definitely should have, at least on paper, walked away with, especially when you're dealing with margins as slim as what we are seeing here in terms of the difference between match victory for UConn with only 3 left to make that difference. So Weber State really would have loved to have that round back. You know, you'd much rather be at 12-6 than 13-5, but they're able at least to keep that op. So it's tough when all you've got pistols around, when all you have is pistols to support that. But maybe if they're able to take advantage of some of these short-range fights, like we just saw Dalvrot here, Coma able to do something for Ty. I mean, it's not, they could just be doing what UConn did last round in reverse.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case. Just casually back-to-back eco round victories. Cleverman trying to make sure that's not going to continue to be the case, and Emerald Arrow falls. Question now remains, what does Yukon do? The bomb is down towards the T-Apps stairs, which is all the way around towards spawn. They have window control, and DeSovo is just sitting in this close corner, and here's Torpedo, but swings onto them, and unbeknownst to Torpedo, finds a free kill. Mr. Loverman seemingly wanting to go back towards A, which technically is the correct call. A little bit more difficult to lock down as a solo player. But with Dalvrat on the op and Torpedo on the AK now, they don't have a kit again, similar to that of the previous round. But if Mr. Loverman can get this down quickly enough with a Molotov, a nade, and 2 flashes, they should have the utility to lock it down long term. They just have to play around speed, and that's an interesting decision, dropping the AK to the lower HP player, and Dalvrat's really been wielding the op long term.
Maybe it's a comfort thing given the circumstances. It's hard to say. I do like that Weber State's opting instead of the 1-1 split to play as partners. Going to give them quick information. It should be, obviously the automatic rotate over there. You can see them starting to move through that position. Loverman, playing in front of triple like that's going to give them a little bit more comfort in playing from this position. Also going to make it more difficult for the retake position, as Torpedo and Dalbrod have lots of positions that they need to clear, but they're going to have at least an opportunity to do so, and 2 bites at the apple. Oh, Torpedo. All right, well, it was a good trade. Giving Torpedo the op ultimately is what won them the round, so no complaints on our side. That's going to bring them up to 13-6. So that's got to feel good. Those back-to-back eco rounds, that being by the skin of their teeth. You heard that bomb priming. That's not a good place to be. You want yourself a little bit more time before that clicks down. But pretty good. I mean, Weber State doing an excellent job to stay in this.
Just barely at that. And in that round, you look at Yukon and say, oh, you peek that 2 seconds later and you probably win it. They should have known there wasn't a kit available because of the fact it was just deagles and or pistols across the board. But in the same right, Weber State weren't really expecting to walk away with that victory. Molotov missed again. Nade's not Yukon's strong suit. Luckily, they do a very good mechanical skill otherwise to make up for it. I think that's what, like, missed nade number 4? At this point, I would have, like, 7, so I have no business talking, but I'm the commentator, so that's my job.
Yeah. Thanks for acknowledging that.
L. Wait, yeah. he sees him. What? There we go. There's the kill. Nice job, JL.
You knew you'd get there eventually. So Yukon taking advantage of their opponents now, I guess, having weapons in a weird way. Weber stayed really proficient with those pistols, doing a lot of damage on those rounds. But at this point, this 1-for-1 in terms of now buying back into equal power, theoretically anyways, proves so far to be in Yukon's position. But as I say that, 2 kills from Dalvrod in that B market position is actually going to give some pause to Yukon. It's going to force them to wait on planting that bomb for just an extra second. The 2 players starting to push out. An excellent bait's going to give a free kill to 1-2-3 as Dalvrod tries the aggression. And JL getting his 3rd kill of the round, able to clean that up. That I had hope for Weber State there. I mean, they did some excellent work there to bring that back to equal, and they could have walked away from that.
I feel Weber State should just buy pistols every round, because every time they pick up rifles after an unlikely round victory, it doesn't work for them. But if they have pistols or MP9s or just chaotic purchases whatsoever, they're in a perfectly good position. Here's the aggression, by the way, walking straight onto A for both teams. The aggression from Yukon straight into Weber State, but it's all 4 kills going Yukon's way. Trizer in a 1v5, all of 85 damage done by the team as a whole, and that's all it'll be. 85 damage. Technically 31 with the other 54 done by Yukon onto Yukon, but it doesn't matter. Yukon now find map point.
It's been a tough journey for Weber State so far, and as we said so far, I mean, there's been some of those beautiful moments, especially with the pistols, but now facing match point, I mean, Yukon coming into a position where they have to feel incredibly confident basically in anything that they've done. They've been humbled a few times, but not really enough to slow them down. We can see them just immediately rushing for underpass. They find that kill, and even losing Dalvrod at that point, they're not slowing down, and now they have full control of the A site, which coincidentally, their bomb is on the other side, so they're actually pulling the Weber State rotation almost you can see that Trizer kind of gets a sense that maybe something's up. They're going to hear that shots, but that failed attempt is going to see Mr. Loverman fake. I don't know. There's a lot of things changing very quickly. It looks like UConn's opting for their confidence in the ability of them to just win out on a frag basis.
Lucky to find that kill. Found it from the backside of CT spawn around towards A, for all of you wondering. Trizer, waiting in towards the B site, should be able to find a kill here, should the over-aggression not come through. Flashbang around the corner, doesn't land. It's actually a decoy, by the way. It was just there for a gamble fake, and it works out. Now, down to just one. DeSilvo in a 1 versus 2. Op out, looking for the first, won't be able to find it. That may very well be the round in favor of Weber State. Looking for a second attempt, but it's a body shot through the wall. Torpedo needs to start counting their lucky stars, considering they're still alive. And UConn, well, they drop 1. Weber State stay alive for 1 more.
Fighting literally with their backs against the cliff, no margin for error whatsoever, and it looked for a second like that was going to be the end of it, but Weber State somehow able to pull that off, largely thanks to the 3K there by Torpedo. But you can't rely on one player for the entire game, especially not when there's only 1 round left. So UConn continuing with this aggressive push. They're literally changing nothing about their play style, and why would they? Weber State cheating a little bit more towards the B site. You can see some of that effort. Underpass. Torpedo with a great peak, great time is going to give them just a little bit more information. A poor Molly is going to not give them quite as much comfort on the back, but finding a 2K is probably going to be good enough. So Weber State finding kills everywhere that it counts is going to give them a 5-2 advantage. And given, it's still 1-2-3 as one of those players left, and you never know what's going to happen, but that's got to feel really good so far.
This is the point in which Weber State just casually win 9 rounds in a row and send us to OT, right? Is that what it says in the script? I know you send out a new version of the script like every week, but I always forget to read them.
Well, you got to keep it interesting, especially after we missed some of those incredibly close matches last week with our broadcast breaks. So, I mean,
come on, Marquette and UConn. Why'd you guys have to go to 30 rounds and then 36 rounds in back-to-back games? Not on stream. SMH.
Yeah, I feel it. But they're playing off their back foot. We've said this before. They have to continue with all of this. And UConn playing with pistols. I mean, we've seen how those have played out in the past. Ty just jumping out of apartments, takes down Trizer. They're lacking in firepower, but certainly not confidence. Continuing to push through this. They are going to be able to get the bomb down now, but with just 1 player down, I mean, this is dangerous when you walk out. You look at the wrong way. The wrong play is JL using that Tech 9 to their advantage is actually going to pick up an AK. So now the 3 players from Weber State, just as I say, oh man, they might be trapped in apartments, they say, nah, we're good, and just rush out and get 2 kills. So Ty left with just a couple HP.
What?
Oof.
No way he finds another. Coma swings. Nope, does find the kill. Weber State should not have been able to win that round. UConn shouldn't have been able to bring it even that close. But luckily, Coma has a kit, so Weber State stay alive. UConn, chaos again, playing in their favor. They were closer than they were in the previous round, but it worked for them.
Yeah. I'm not going to complain about it at all. I love seeing how this is playing for them. And I think kind of bucking expectations at this point, we've seen the ecos seem to be more of a sure thing than anything else. UConn obviously making that really close for their side. And now that kind of failed attempt at B is going to give them the ability to go, or I guess the interest in going over to the A site. Able to see some trades there, but the double op setup proves to be too much. And Coma just absolutely powerhousing through that, making an excellent use of that. Trying to put themselves up there in the same conversation as Chris and Halter from Marquette and DePaul. So 1 player left in this Leverman, but not long for this world. That's a 3K for Coma, just absolutely locking down that A site. And suddenly, something that seemed like UConn was just completely running away from it. Weber State, 10 rounds. That's pretty impressive.
This is the first real milestone they've reached, and UConn calling the first time out of today. That shows you the risk in which they see and how much Weber State's already come back. Brief reminder, it was 15-6 when Weber started their original comeback. We're currently at 15-10, so they are just under halfway there. Technically 2/3 of the way there if you count from 10 to 15 to 5 rounds. Nonetheless, math being not the conversation we're talking about, more about how they can come back. They're in a pretty good spot. Economy is in a decent position. Yukon's not so much. They'll have 4 Tech 9s and a Deagle into this 26th round. Should everything continue as we'd expect, round 26 will be a kind of safe for Yukon. They'll buy in 27. Should they lose, it'll be a save in 28, a buy in 29, and then probably a buy in 30 considering the loss bonus they've built up. So Weaver State are 2 ecos and 3 gun rounds, 2.5 gun rounds away from OT. By no means impossible.
Although we saw how UConn behaved in the last gun round, and while it did come down to that 1v1, they were quite dominant in the opening rounds of that. So it seems like they're opting for the same type of strategy here. Just press W, run through B apartments. And this time there are 2 players from Weaver State there to answer. So it's really going to come down to how they're able to deal with this. You see the smoke for the molly. That Nate is going to find some purchase. And another molly in there is actually going to do more damage as the UConn team exits the apartments. But this time, no opening frags on the side of Weaver State. Instead, both of them going to UConn, and all of a sudden, Weaver State slowly slipping away. Oh, this is so dangerous for them.
May very well be the map, and with DeSova finding a follow-up, it probably is. Mr. Loverman, sitting inside of the market, finds the kill there. It's down to Torpedo in a 1v3, who doesn't clear the chair, and Ty, with the only Deagle, will find the only Deagle headshot of the round. Yukon make it a 16-10 map victory. Should not have been that close, but at the same time, they probably shouldn't have won the round that closed out the map. A whole lot of probably shouldn't haves in Mirage.
I really, really love the way that came together. Weaver State obviously rallying in that mid game, doing an excellent job of staying in and even continuing to face match point after match point after match point. And of course, what else does it come down to but an eco round? And it could have gone the other direction. I mean, Weber State was doing a great job of locking down both sites. Como sitting on that op on A just made it impossible for UConn to enter as they got into those later rounds. Unfortunately, the 2 B side players in that point just not really able to find those purchases, and UConn's overwhelming confidence and aggression continued to win out. So we've seen how they do that on Inferno. That's the next map that we're going to see. I'm very curious to see how Weber State's going to contend with that. We saw that as possible, but is that going to be the same case in a new map?
We'll find out when we come back from the break. It's Inferno, our second of the series, second map, and final map of the day to see if UConn make it 2-0 or Weber State can start to climb the ranks and build that win percentage back up to try and approach the top 4. We'll catch you after the break. Pistol round action already here for Weber State's attack. They are on the T side, or CT side, to open up Inferno, as it is not their map selection. The question now remains, can they quickly retake? And the answer, convincingly no. UConn will open it up with a pistol round victory. Apologies, did not happen to have everything functioning properly as the game started. I'm still Time to Light, still joining alongside these Viking into Inferno. Can Weber State improve?
Certainly possible, but we've also seen UConn do some pretty devastating work on Inferno previously, and obviously their style super aggressive, really like take no prisoners, just hold W, do whatever you need to do to get those frags, and that's certainly the case in the first round. Continues to be the second one, and 1-2-3 opting for the scout over the Mag 10 there. Really just, I guess as a statement, it's going to go back into this pit position and just wait and see if Weber State are willing to challenge. But as they do, Trizer and Torpedo run directly into the crosshairs of the UConn counterparts, and that's going to be a quick end to the round. So not off to a great start for Weber State. Unlike the last two rounds, they did not win the pistol round, although they did some damage there. So really, I think the goal here is Weber State's got to chill out for UConn, or force them to chill out rather, and shut down that aggression. I don't know if they're going to be at the point of being able to counter aggress in a way that's going to kind of shut UConn down. But when you play this kind of high flying, high aggression sort of stage, if you can weather that initial storm, you certainly have a lot of potential. And we see here, we're just once again, UConn going for that early aggression.
The issue, they've walked straight into a stack. Two players just sitting from CT and coffins, and that all that much utility to clear them out of position. A late smoke towards CT, of which really didn't even plume in the correct position, and no smoke around towards coffins. It's just a day at the shooting range here for Weber State. They lose all of one player, and that's Trizer, who found 3 kills to really relegate any semblance of damage that could have been done. UConn are cut away in their bonus round, but they can still purchase up, considering how many players stayed alive in the second.
Great response from Weber State there. Exactly what they needed to do. Stay home, shut down that aggression, wait for UConn to come into it, and it worked out really well for them. Now that UConn has a full buy, we'll see if that continues. I would love to see more of that from the Claws Gaming side.
Well, top towards stairs. JL really forced out of position. 10 damage done. Not the end of the world. Not really round changing. That's a missed smoke, by the way. This is why you throw it off the bottom side of the wall, not off the floor. Some things can cost you lines of sight, possibly kills later on. Tie spray actually does more damage to their teammate. So that happened.
I mean, you can never be too careful. Weber State, did play a couple tricky places in the last round. They want to be careful of that, especially in that notorious top of banana position. There's a lot of smokes that can really mess you up. Torpedo finds that opening kill onto Loverman, the frag leader from the previous map, and they line up for Trizer. That's 2 Ks. And that bomb site is absolutely closed as Coma comes around from the flank, going to shut them down. UConn is just absolutely stuck in a death trap that you might know as Banana. And man, that was an excellent response from the Weber State team. That UConn aggression and a great round result for them.
Pause called. This is a tech pause rather than a timeout, at least as far as I'm aware. And yeah, seems like things are being fixed and function. I don't see anything in our captain's channel, so it seems like things will be fixed on their own. No divine/admin intervention required. So that's always nice.
Look at some of those gloves. They looked pretty solid as we were hanging out in that T side. Who is that?
This would be 1-2-3. Unless you're talking about somebody else, then we can scroll.
No, the other guy with the white diamond gloves.
No.
One more.
No.
No.
JL,
yeah.
Maybe? JL.
Sick gloves, man. Love them. Anyways, back to the action. UConn on this infamous Tech 9 buy, at least from what we saw on the Mirage side, just gonna push into apartments. Although instead of opting for the fast aggression towards any given site, they have stacked up towards the banana front. But otherwise, they're just kind of chilling. They're looking for whatever information they can get out of it. Weber State wisely staying home, opting for the 3-man stack on the arch side there. The 2-man stack on the arch side there. Maybe being aware of the fact that they might be dealing with some aggression, but that does leave the A site entirely vulnerable. that smoke is going to trigger a little bit of a push onto that A site. So we're going to see as UConn starts to progress towards the A site, if they're going to be capitalized on it. Not doing so bad so far.
Not awful by any means. The issue they're going to run into is clearing out that pit position. It should be relatively clean for them, and they do indeed. It's Stisova to find the kill, Dalvrot taken off the board. Oh, and Como removed from the server. Blacklisted with that type of shot, and Trizer now sent running and packing. UConn packing things up, and after the technical pause, seemingly gives them a tactical time to slow things down. Rifles should be retrieved, an M4 picked up by a teammate with just a pistol, maybe not, I suppose, and UConn walk away with a big round victory.
This is a good way to make sure that you're not allowing your opponents to get momentum. And we saw with Weber State in the last round, they got some momentum and they were able to carry that for quite a while. I mean, obviously 15-10, very respectable margins against a UConn team that's been increasingly dominant over the last couple of weeks. So that's exactly what they needed here. They came in, they did an excellent job on, basically an anti-eco, or their eco for them, excuse me, and shut down what Weber State defense was. That being said, I don't think Weber State really did anything wrong there. They just, ultimately succumbed to the pressure from UConn.
Pressure's building as well. Weber State, what in the world? Huh?
It's a little bit of extra encouragement to do well with the op,
I mean, I suppose, but being lower HP with an op's never good. You have, like, some way of getting out when you're on 100 HP, but 55, it's 2-shot with most rifles in the game. Ty, 3 shots Trizer, with a well-placed headshot to close it out. Torpedoes there for the refrag, sure, but... Okay, Dalvrot apparently working around their encouragement and finds a kill. Bomb plant to follow, but it's just a retake in from CT, and Weber State with a man at disadvantage to do so.
Yeah, I would probably call this as a save. Just, maybe if you find that early opening, but being aggressive, especially given their economic position, not a great decision to go too far with that. It does seem like they're poking and prodding and looking for a little bit of information, but you can see that Dalvrot's already kind of slinked off with the op towards the A site. Being real careful, but Emerald's still hanging out in that church position. It's going to be kind of a difficult exit. You can see that all the UConn players kind of looking in that direction. Luckily for them, they are kind of thinking there, oh man, oh no. Oh man, the timing just slightly off for that, but it is going to cost, I think, that's going to be Stisova off the board. Okay, so 1-for-1 trade is going to be a little bit harder for the Weber State side to swallow that than the UConn side, given, as you can see, economics not looking so good for the blue team right now, but they did manage to save over the op, so a little bit of a glimmer of hope, at least in an otherwise pretty difficult round for them to get through there.
That's it's not a great round for Weber State. Nice flash around will make sure they are pushed off the angle, and this is already aggression again for UConn. They've gained most of brackets control, minus the brackets themselves, already in the top of mid with not much of a contention from Weber State. And now you look at Weber State and say you have to be more aggressive, albeit they do only have a hero up on Dalvrot with Beagles across the board. But you have a disadvantage, you need to turn that to some semblance of an advantage, and it's just been doubled down upon.
UConn going through, finding those decisive opens, both Ty and Loverman on opposite sides of the map, getting some pretty decisive headshots. They haven't even picked up the bomb. They're just so confident in their pressure through that. Now, especially taking the op off the board, they are now going to go back and retrieve that bomb so they can hopefully end the game, the round a little bit earlier. But they really haven't needed it at this point. I mean, they ran through it, they got their kills, and that was sort of the end of it. So now the choice is UConn going to go hunting for this last eagle? Coma with a diffuse kit, helmet, and armor, going to want to try to hold on to that best they can. But it's not a guaranteed thing at this point. UConn definitely on the move, trying to make sure that doesn't carry.
Guarantee is always a difficulty in Coma. Basically a guarantee they've lost the round. It's just a question again of whether they save over their Deagle armor kit and 2 pieces of utility, or whether it's stripped away from them. And given the sound cues they've already made inside of the apartments, it should be relatively apparent for UConn to clear that out. They will from the door. Como will miss their opening shots. Second attempt, they find 2 body shots, somehow still alive, by the way. and they will inevitably fall. Very close to a knife kill there. Unfortunately, at least for Mr. Loverman does not come through. But that happened. Yeah, that's where I'll go.
Really difficult position to be in when you're trying to save, and you can just kind of feel those waves crashing onto you as you're slowly drowned by the consuming pressure of the opposite team coming from every single angle. So that's going to give Weaver State the opportunity to reset there. You see that they did opt to buy a couple M4s, the MP9, but Dalrot, who had previously been able to save over that op, relegated it to just a Desert Eagle. That being said, could do a lot of damage of it. We've obviously seen what these teams have done on the pistol round pretty convincingly. So Yukon opting more and more for a stronger default and a little bit more cautious approach to thing, actually going to do them a little bit of disservice there as you see the first opening kills going over to Weber State.
At a bare minimum, they've given themselves an advantage. CT side never easy to hold that. Trizer does refrag though. Mr. Loverman only finds a single kill. Yukon aren't out of this by any means. DeSovo's still alive, still with an op in hand. 123 is still kicking and has been kicking down doors in the Weaver State defense on a consistent basis. But they still need to be able to find returns. And look at the aggression. Coma, last seen in the previous round, inside of T apps. Look at the top left of your screen. They're back inside of the T apartments, just aggressing and wasting absolutely no time with the aforementioned aggression. DeSovo dropping Trizer, but that previous coffin kill could lull them into a false sense of security. They're looking to aggress. Molotov towards the coffins should push them back, but it's actually looked to aggress them forward. For some reason, Emerald Arrow tries to take the fight. The sound cue of the Molotov basically gave away their whereabouts. A 2v2, bomb plant, and the sound cue for the aggression up banana means Yukon know where both players are coming from.
Makes it tough, but you can see that Coma's already up on those front barrels, so that's actually going to give him a positional advantage as he finds the Sovo death from above. Leaves just 1, 2, 3, but 1, 2, 3 we've seen be so dependable round after round on the previous map. No difference here on Inferno. Closes that round out with ease. I think Weaver State could have had that a little bit of weaponry disadvantage with that MP9 coming from the CT side, but a little bit less information and a little bit more caution from Yukon definitely could have swung that the opposite direction.
Other tech pause called. I'm totally not going to just casually check the pings because I'm kind of curious. Bot Victor is now in the server, so in replacement of somebody for Yukon. But it's down to, well, whether Weber State can find those opening picks. By the way, they found 2 in the previous round. And then keep playing the buddy system. Throughout the entirety of the round, you could seemingly see them take individual 1v1 gunfights. The only exception to that rule was the final fight with 123, who just happened to pop off and find 2 kills. The refrag potential was there. The kills, unfortunately, obviously, not so much. And the question now remains, what does Weber State do to adjust? They have to be playing as a team in positions where they can find refrags. They found one right off the bat. It was a single kill found towards CT and then an immediate return from Weber State to put it in a 4v2, but after that, they decided, oh, yeah, you want to try and clutch this round up? We'll give you the best possible opportunity to do so, and just continually took 1v1s.
I think a lot of it comes down to the utility usage on the Weber State side. They've been opting more for the firepower than kind of the full kit, and as a result of that, they put themselves in positions where Yukon obviously is ceased with the sort of unrelenting aggression that they had in previous rounds until a little bit later into it. But still, they're not equipped with mollies, smokes, and other things that are going to prevent that people literally just walking onto site. And that sort of comfort that Yukon brings through that confidence that they've been able to build up, just in the results that they've seen so far, have kept putting Weber State at just a consistently disadvantaged. Not always a huge amount, but enough that Yukon has not really felt dissuaded from what they'd done in the past. So as we see this eco round on the side of Weber State, love to see them bite the bullet, wait until they can get a full buy back in just so they can get more of that utility down and stem what Yukon is ultimately able to prevent that.
Look like Yukon's wasting any time with the re-aggression, though. Understanding the fact that Emerald Arrow had a pistol, they should know that the rest of Weaver State's in a similar position. Smoke to return and try and re-aggress towards this B side for Weaver State. They're probably going to hold W here, but Mr. Loverman, there with an AK, finds one. Coma finds a refrag, sure. The 1-2-3 is there with a kill of their own. And don't forget, Ty is just walking up B from CT. Coma finds one, surprising kill there, albeit 1-2-3 was fairly low, but it's not going to matter. UConn now find a 7th. Weaver State cut away once more, and UConn wasting absolutely no time building a giant advantage on the T half.
And that's exactly what they have to continue to do, right? You want to make sure that you're set up as best as you possibly can for the second half when you ultimately get there. The more rounds, obviously, the better. And that's just going to give you more and more confidence, which in measurement, right, you don't want to be so overly risky that you're making consistent mistakes that allows your opponent to come back into it. But it does give you the confidence to be very aggressive, continue to do more work there. And that's exactly what they've done so far. Measured aggression has spelled a lot of success for them. And Weaver State so far, you know, save 2 rounds, just really haven't found a good enough answer for it yet.
The big answer for Weaver State has to be utility, and I feel like that's been one facet of their game that's been lacking over the last map and a half or so, or map and a third, considering we're only around 10 of a possible 30. This is a good start. They found opening picks, they have utility to retake B main control, but they're seemingly not going to. Torpedo does find one, an immediate refrag. 2v4s have been clutched up by UConn before. This would be a really good time to establish dominance and really secure your advantage. Deagle for DeSovo, it's JL to assist to find the kill. Trizer finds a refrag from the coffin position and is now just backed away. They want to play as a team and they will do so. Dalvrot finds the final, Weaver State find a third, and finally put themselves back on the board.
Very impressive kind of hold there, and I think one of my bigger concern is that you could see that with the exception of Coma a couple times playing from that new box position, largely had been just kind of giving up sight once they get there, either playing from deep coffins or they're losing somebody in that cross position, and that's obviously given UConn quite a bit of freedom there, and the slow peak just plays exactly into DeSovo's hands there, but Emerald able to pick up that op and do some damage. There's still 2 ops on the side of Weaver State, both of them currently on the A position. I mean, it's working for them. Torpedo, just no fear going out there, finding the double K down Banana. All right, I mean, it's giving them the advantage to do whatever works, right?
Sometimes a whole lot of trial and error is required to figure out what does indeed work. Mr. Loverman about to swing, flashbang up and over, they avoid it, and immediately take away Emerald Arrow. That's an op dropped as well, of which Mr. Loverman really doesn't want to trifle with, considering their teammate currently possesses one. Aggression towards Speedway, it's seemingly aware of for Trizer, but they still have to clear out this position. And now the question is, do they go towards B? If so, Trizer could turn around and find a free kill, as Mr. Loverman and himself have played Ring Around the Rosie. Because of it, Mr. Loverman will fall. Well-timed re-aggression from Trizer off the back of the aggression from Mr. Loverman, but it's DeSovo now to 1 versus 2. They avoid the flash, looking for a following up kill, and they'll find that just the same. Dalvrot with an op, no kit, and a flashbang on a retake. They may be able to retrieve a kit, but time will tick away before they may be able to do so.
Difficult position to be in, just giving free, not free kills, but the 1v1s against DeSovo. One of the leader on the UConn team in terms of the frags, obviously doing a really great job just generally on the mechanics front this time around. Is not a good idea. You want to wait for your teammates before you spread re-aggression, and hopefully they can help you make sure that no one shoots you in the back like we just saw from DeSovo there. So unfortunately, Weaver State not able to continue on their success in the previous round. UConn continuing to put down that position. Anytime that they lose one, they immediately come back, smack it down like somebody defending a basketball net, and it's looking really good for UConn, continuing to find that type of result, especially in the face of adversity.
Similar situation as to our previous map, where Weaver State have about 3 rounds, but can come back. Trizer just clotheslines 2 different players, the max 7, close range, and Weaver State go from finding 2 opening picks on a consistent basis to now a 3rd to try and give themselves a massive advantage. And now what's the response here for UConn? Emerald Arrow wasting no time re-aggressing down mid, probably should have, considering DeSovo was there with an op. And, well, Weaver State, this is how you may be able to throw away an advantage. I don't like the fact they're still aggressive. Play around your advantages and all of that flash miss. That doesn't cost them. Okay. Yes, it does. Okay.
Yeah, it's a mix. And 1-2-3 almost finds a double kill, or does find a double kill, almost finds a triple kill there. Excuse me. Torpedo able to pull out the decoy, close that out. And Weaver State able to find their own answer for that. So good for them. A couple of things that definitely made me a little nervous. Like you said, Emerald Arrow definitely should not have been pushing down mid, kind of given the circumstances. At this point, they really can't give up any potential advantage that's going to net them another round. So, we saw the huge potential for that, last round repeat where they're just giving to Sova 1v1s and do a lot of that. So, UConn opting for just hard aggression, going through there, and that 2-for-1 trade, they'll take that all day, every day. Emerald Arrow still somehow alive in apartments, but it doesn't matter because UConn is now all over the map. However, with that aggression, they made the choice or mistake of leaving the bomb all the way back in the T spawn area. And by the time that's going to get there, the initial success of that aggression completely run out, and Weaver State have retaken control of the situation so far. However, it's 1-2-3 and Mr. Loverman, and boy, are they dangerous players.
I would not want to take any 1vx or 2vx scenarios with either of these players left on the board. UConn swing around. The Molotov misses as the bomb got planted earlier. 1 HP left over for Torpedo, but it's Trizer to drop later. Vice versa, as a matter of fact. Torpedo was the one that was dropped first. Nonetheless, Trizer's low HP cost him later on, and UConn, in a similar situation to Mirage, they lose just a single round, but they don't allow Weber State to build up a consistent advantage or comeback, and then walk away with a round victory once more.
That's got to be an incredibly frustrating situation for Weaver State because they had control. They'd gotten those early frags. They'd been able to contend with the aggression of UConn. The bomb was so far back. There's absolutely no reason that they should have been able to lose control of that. But they just weren't really playing very well off of each other. So instead of using the buddy system, except for that last aggression towards the library area, just a really difficult situation for Weaver State to let go, especially as they're playing from behind, trying desperately to make sure that whatever they're doing is going to position them better for that next round. So difficult situation to be in. Doesn't work out for Weaver State, and now they're at a different position as those nades come in. 1-2-3. Once again, a name that we see on that kill feed almost constantly comes out and starts off the round with a huge advantage for UConn.
Advantage allows them to just walk onto the B site fairly unrestricted. Torpedo caught as they try to fall back. The nade creating a pseudo smoke effect that really won't change the overall outcome of the round. Ty able to find the kill, and UConn able to find the round. And again, the question remains, do they find the round off the back of Weaver State saving over a rifle, or vice versa? Also, were they trying to prep retake utility for when they go onto the CT side? Is it just casual practice? Also, Emerald's on 1 HP.
That doesn't bode well for them with UConn starting to bear down on that, but able to find something out of it still. I mean, that's the Silvo down, so 3 more players to go, and call that a successful round. And of course, who else? The 1-2-3 coming in and getting a 3K on that round, turning out to just absolutely be the runaway impact player for UConn, especially over the last 5 or 6 rounds. So Weaver State, once again, on their back foot. We saw the Mag 7 that's probably going to go towards that banana position, and I will never get sick of the multi-kills with that gun. So no bias for either particular team inside. I'm just rooting for the Mag 7 here.
Rooting for the Mag 7? Well, that means that you are rooting for the CT side, and that's caster bias. Yeah. Do I message Tyler about replacing Tyler? What's going on here? Can't deal with this information.
Unfortunately, for both me and Supervisor Tyler, the Mag 7 not finding a lot of utility so far. It looks like they're going to try to push through the smoke, maybe get something out of it. But as we go on the other side, again, 1-2-3 just continuously pushing through, finding those frags, and it's just once again down to Emerald Arrow with that MP9. UConn feeling very confident in this, able to play a little bit looser on their utility, and Loverman ends up the half 4-11 in favor of UConn. A couple good rounds that we've seen, a better position than they were at the end of the half when it came to Mirage, but still a pretty dire situation for the Weaver State team. What are you thinking on this, Dan?
I'm thinking it's got to be a pistol round victory. I mean, they won
Yep.
both pistol rounds in the first map and still lost by a country mile. It was 16-10, but I mean, still, it didn't even seem that close. It was a last-second comeback that really put them back in the forefront. Pistol round victory, I don't think would put them in a likely position to win, but at least building up rounds. And round differential will mean something, especially when push comes to shove later on in the season, mostly around the spring when playoffs become a conversation. But Trizer's head removed from the rest of their body. Emerald Arrow already on 3 HP, shouldn't be all that long for this world. It's Ty and Loverman to find a headshot, 1-2-3 with one of their own. It's down to Dalvron in a 1 versus 3. The only one yet to find a kill thus far in this round is DeSovo. That will continue to be the case. Ty finds a double, and UConn win both pistols here on Inferno. Both teams seemingly flawless in pistols in which they picked the map. Oh.
This doesn't bode well for the Weaver State team. 4-12, uncomfortable position, especially losing that pistol round going into the second half. It's going to put them in just a very difficult position as they try to game out. All right, if we're going to save here, it's got to be a full save. We have to be able to go into the next round understanding that we're not going to have the utility. UConn fully aware of this fact. You see just rushing down mid, forcing the T side back on T ramp, only losing 1 for their trouble, and that is just a very clean and quick round from UConn, being able to sense weakness, playing up to their aggressive tendencies, and just ending it super quickly. So now as we get on to round 18, Weaver State's going to get that weaponry back, and now it's really do or die for them. Otherwise, this is likely the end of the game.
That moment when your opponents kill more of your opponents than you do. It's not looking great for Weber State. UConn with a team kill, Weber State with not a single kill at all. Torpedo does find an opener. Ty is taken care of, and Coma, most importantly, is still alive. Solo guys through a smoke up Utility Dump Avenue, or Boulevard, or just Banana, depending on what you like to call it. But okay, apparently seeing your opponents is overrated. We've had a headshot through a smoke, a headshot through a wall, and a body shot through a smoke. 3 of 4 kills have been onto opponents that technically were not seen. Okay. Yeah, that's how this game works. Forgot about that.
Sure does. Everything that you don't expect is what to expect. If we're looking down the scoreboard here, as we think about what could be the final ends of these rounds, JL super quiet. I mean, a little bit more impact on the last end there. Only finding 3 kills so far on the T side, and certainly that happens. You know, you end up in kind of a weird position. Way more distributed across the Weaver State side. Not really an indication either way, because obviously UConn didn't need the help, but it's interesting to kind of see how players are ebbing and flowing between the different games. However, the consistent impact of 1-2-3 and Loverman, when given the opportunities, cannot be understated. Weaver State depending a little bit more on Torpedo and Coma, although Coma hasn't really had the time to shine. And as I say that, Coma who found themselves in CT, able to give that refrag onto one of those top frags from Loverman, and it's going to force DeSovo here to the back of the site as they consider where that aggression may come from. But so far, Weaver State opting to stick towards the A site, which has been a pretty deadly choice so far.
Oh, and DeSovo actually swings around at the worst possible time. Emerald Arrow has now seen their counterpart and is looking to aggress upon them. By the way, Coma is just sitting inside a library with a bomb on today's episode of Things You Didn't Expect a T-sided player to do. Have most of CT control and the bomb in their current possession. Smoke towards CT, of which their teammate still currently resides upon, and the smoke misses. Repositioned towards a back corner of sight for DeSovo, which is actually keeping them alive for the time being, and Ty just walking up Banana is going to be able to find the refrag. Coma's still going to go B, by the way. Huh?
Maybe it'll pan out. I mean, it really comes down to the timing.
And then 1-2-3 walks away! I hate this game. I hate this game so much. And they didn't hear the bomb fake. Coma actually has a shot at this round now.
I mean, if you're going to put in anybody's hands on the Weaver State side, it would be Coma or Torpedo probably. So, I mean, this is playing out really well. And both of the UConn players coming from the same direction is going to give a little bit more of an opportunity there. The smoke is going to cut off one vector of approach. But it may not really matter because Coma can still push through that. And because we're dealing with, I guess, the preference for the Deagle there.
There he is.
Just kidding.
Okay.
1-2-3 once again. doing the work that needs to be done, and this is going to leave UConn with 14 rounds currently against Weaver State's 5. So, I mean, we were at 15 rounds at UConn before Weaver State went on a tear and made it 15-10. It could certainly happen again, but I think in this case, UConn's been feeling like the momentum has stuck with them more so, and that Weaver State, while finding more rounds overall at this point, are still kind of struggling with just some questionable decision making at different times, and other times just kind of coming out on the wrong side of the gunfight.
Something like that. Torpedo dies in second mid, and already the opener goes UConn's way. And Weaver State, it hasn't looked good for them even when they do find opening kills, much less when they don't, especially when that now inopportune occasion is now doubled and then tripled upon. 1-2-3 with a casual triple kill of their own leaves Coma in another clutch. This one, instead of a 1v2 with a bomb planted and time in their favor, it's a 1v5 without the bomb, without it planted, and just sitting inside a kitchen. Not the easiest place to lock down. Seems like UConn are looking to cook the off, and they'll do so with a knife. No less, more of a steak knife than a karambit, I suppose, considering the location. UConn find match point. They have 10 of them, and already, mathematically, they've won the series. It's just a matter of whether it's based off of round differential or because of the 2-map victory.
It is indeed. So, not looking so good for Weaver State, at least as it relates to the current status. I mean, certainly, again, as we said last time, we'll never rule out the possibility of them going on a 10-round tear and pulling it back. But 1-2-3 is going to start to put a kibosh on that. Was that a flash that they put towards that?
Yeah. They had a teammate smoke the Molotov, and then they flashed around the corner. And then it worked.
All right. I mean, hey, if it's confusing enough for us, it can be confusing enough for the opponent and going to give them something to open on. So there's just one player on the UConn side playing through playing from balcony or just inside apartments, it looks like. So Weaver State going to have the opportunity to come through here, but it's 1-2-3 with the op, and that is the last name that you want to see pop up as you're trying to take a site. And this lack of aggression here is going to spell disaster for them. It's trying to come through, find whatever they can, but they take too long. DeSovo is able to come in and back them up. So now, once again, it's just Coma. And I don't know if he's got what it takes to complete this. And that's the answer to the question. So it's going to be UConn up 16-5. Going to take both maps for their favor, both Mirage and Inferno. And with that, they're actually going to take over second place over Marquette, who ended up tying 1-1 with Paul today. So, a lot of great rounds, a lot of great matchups, a lot of great moments overall. Certainly glad that we got to see all of them this week. And I was just super impressed with the way that these teams have been performing across the board.
I also have to say, I'm impressed with Weaver State's availability for flexibility. They were dynamically switching up their play. While, yeah, they got trounced. By no means was this a close series. It was 32-15 in terms of round differential, 16-10, 16-5. But you could see the improvement throughout the series, especially in map number 1. Remember, they were down 15-6. They brought it back to 15-10 and then ended up losing. But they put together rounds when they really needed to. That shows they have the clutch potential in crunch time to at least keep themselves in a series. And later on, remember, playoffs are all important, especially around seeding. They could get themselves maybe a little bit of an easier opponent because of the rounds they won today. Getting into playoffs, at least. But getting to playoffs, a whole other conversation. That's, of course, a whole season and a half away. Seasons being of the weather rather than EGFC seasons. But you get the general idea.
Sure.
Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's either an interview with one of the players on the UConn side, or, oh no, it is. 123 is going to be here for an interview. So, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, an interview with 123, and then the end of the show. We'll see you then. 2-0 series victory for the University of Connecticut over Weber State University. They walk away with Mirage 16-10 and Inferno 16-5 in that order. We have an interview with 123, the main fragger, to close out the second map. 123, just to open things up, how do you feel after the 2-0 series victory?
Yeah, we definitely feeling well.
Well, moving into map one, it was Mirage. You lost the pistol, but then you built up a massive advantage even without the pistol round victory. Talk to me about how the team was able to flex between the loss and then so many wins in a row.
Yeah, I think we play very well and we got coverage perfectly. Also, yeah, keep this level in the whole game. So that's why.
Does help.
Yep.
So when you moved over to Inferno, I mean, obviously you did really well on Mirage as a team. You as an individual did very well on that, but in Inferno, it seemed like you went above and beyond. I mean, it seemed like every time we looked at the kill feed, it was a 1-2-3 kill. Can you tell me a little bit about what kind of state of mind you were in and how you were working with the rest of the team to capitalize on how well you were doing in terms of frags?
I just want to do what I can, so just to help team to win this game.
Makes perfect sense. And obviously doing an exceptionally good job of that. The last question that I had before for you was I think Mirage, it was pretty obvious that you as a team were all about the aggression. Basically, every round was you're going one direction or the other. You wanted to suffocate. There was a lot of flanks on the CT side, a lot of aggression on the T side. When you went over to Inferno, we saw a little bit more of a difference where in some rounds we saw that hyper aggression, in others you were playing a little bit back. Was there any particular strategy or thought that was going into when you were turning on the gas for that aggression and when you were playing a little bit back, or were you really just kind of thinking that round around?
Like we play aggressive more, like in previous game, more aggressive.
Well, leading with that aggression into Inferno. To close out the series, you guys did not let off the gas pedal. As Tyler kind of mentioned, it was just holding W a lot of the times. Is that more just to play to your own style, or was that to throw Weber State off?
I think that's yeah, it's hard to say.
Well, sometimes it can be just a healthy combination of the two. Final question for you. Anybody you'd like to shout out? Any final thoughts in the series? Any thoughts overall? The floor is yours.
Um, Thank you for you guys like watching this game. Yeah, we will play better in this game. Yep.
Well, a big series victory for you, 1-2-3. Thank you very much for joining us, and again, congratulations on the victory.
Thank you so much.
Well, Tyler, 2-0, 16-10, 16-5, improvement to their own map selection as you'd expect, and really shutting down the possibility of them capitalizing off of round victories. Final thoughts for UConn, considering how dominant they became.
That was great. I mean, again, they just continue to maintain a good, rational, foundational basis for why they belong in that top three, along with the rest of their Big East counterparts. So as they continue into next week, and as we get closer to the end of the split, there's only 2 weeks left in this. I'm very excited to just see how the rest of this plays out. Very excited to just keep coming back week to week. So really appreciate all the team's efforts that they are. Thank you, obviously, to everybody that's watching. And I'll give it over to you, Dan, to close out for tonight.
Well, to close things out and put a little bit of a culmination on the show as a whole, do not forget, we have Valorant action going on in the sister EGF channels. I know NAU is playing the University of Delaware right now over on twitch.tv/official EGF2, and then over on twitch.tv/official EGF3, it's actually Weber State taking on St. John's. It's either that or DePaul University taking on RIT. I think DePaul and RIT will be kicking off in just a few minutes. So if you want to go check out the lesser of the two first-person shooters, you can head over there. Or don't forget, League of Legends every every Saturday on official EGF and Big East Esports. Don't miss out on it. As much as I hate playing League of Legends, it is a very good esport just to watch and enjoy. Hopefully you do so with us tomorrow when EGF action continues. We'll see you then.